Hello. Hope everyone, whoever is watching, is having a good day. Good evening. It is December 29th, 2025. That means 2025 is basically dead. In the ground. It's over. And it's time to wrap things up. Finish things up for now. Just making sure that the music's not too loud. Hoping my microphone holds up as well. Close out of that. All right. I might as well just get started here. Talk about what's happening, what we're doing. Hi, Kelsey. All right. Dead. Yeah, I wonder if I hope I'm not on too much of a delay, but if I am, that's okay. I mean, I think it will. I'll just, if I'm on a delay and like it takes a while for me to respond to chat messages, then I will just bear with me, and I apologize. It's okay. We're having fun here. This is not meant to be too serious. Well, it is, because I'm making my top 20, and there's nothing more serious than the man who wants to rank the video games that he loves. All right? Nothing more serious. Yeah, so what are we doing here? First of all, hi. If you don't know who I am, that's fair. I am Chris. I am a person that plays a lot of video games, and I'm just kind of a random person who just really enjoys this medium a lot, and just likes to talk about them every once in a while. This is Rhythm Doctor. It's on the list. Don't worry. I don't know why I added this particular song, but it will go. It will, trust me. It will be relevant. We'll be talking about that game very soon. You know what? Hold on. We're breaking kayfabe for a moment. There you go. All right, here we go. Yeah. So what are we doing here? Last year we did a stream in which I made my top 20 favorite games of the year, and I had a lot of fun with it. And so, in just a very self indulgent way, I was like, I want to do this again because it was just fun. And it's mostly just hearing myself speak, but I just still just enjoy talking about these things. It's just things that have been in my head all year about all the different video games that I've played. Like, so much shit has happened this year in terms of just the world and everything. And I would even go as far as to say, like, I think my tastes in video games have slightly changed. I think my well, in terms of just, you know, in a much narrower scope, I guess my taste in video games have changed. But also, I guess, like, the way I think about these games have changed as well. I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of different, you know, like personalities, people that do this stuff for a living, and, like, I don't know. I've kind of started to adapt some of how people view this medium and into how I also view the games that I play. And so we'll see if any of that comes out. I may just say, hey, this game is good, and not really be able to elaborate further, for all I know. So we're trying. We're doing our best to make this as engaging as possible. But really, this is just for me to fuck around and make a top 20 list, and just talk about all my favorite games that I played this year. And so that's the most of the main aspect of it. A couple things that might be different slightly from last year. There is no music label on the stream, so you won't know what music I'm playing unless I purposely switch over to C, unfortunately. But I don't know. I still wanted to have music in the background. We'll see. I don't know. The other part of it too, I'm losing track of what I was gonna say. Oh, another difference from last year is that I'm going to try my best, and I did this last year, I think. I'm going to try my best to avoid spoilers for things. However, in the case that I want to talk about a spoiler, boom, we got spoiler text, motherfuckers. I put in a little bit of work to have put some spoilers on the screen, so that way, and I will elaborate ahead of time, like, hey, I'm going to talk about such and such game for a moment, and it's going to include spoilers, and then I'm going to have this on the screen. And for people who just want to mute, and then not that you have to extremely watch, but or if you're watching this after the fact for whatever reason, you can fast forward. But if not, if you're just watching the live stream, just mute for a bit, I guess, if you don't want to hear the spoiler. But I'll make sure I take the spoiler shield away as soon as I am over talking about whatever I need to. Again, I'm going to try not to talk about spoilers, but there's some things that are just I need to talk about that or that I might feel like I need to talk about anyway, and I'm like, I gotta just say this because it will emphasize the point. There's a couple of awards which we haven't even talked about yet that are also might be needing of spoilers, so we'll get to there. So I'm just trying to be courteous to the people who are watching, so that they are not you know, that I don't drop something on them and they're like, wait, I haven't checked this out yet, and I wanted to be surprised, so I apologize. It's definitely going to be true about Deltarune to some degree, because that's going to be a very hard game to talk about, a game that is unfinished and not a lot of people have played it yet. Again, we'll get there. I really don't think I'm really going to try hard not to go deep on Deltarune, but we'll get there. Yeah. So basically, this is how it's going to work. If you did not see last year, is that I'm basically going to be trimming down this list of 80 video games that I have put in time this year too. It is not all of them. I've mostly avoided adding games that are games I started and didn't finish. But there are games that don't have a definitive ending, like multiplayer games that I included on here. So and it's basically, we're going to be trimming this down to a top 20. For the first round of this, we're going to trim this 80. God, my mouse is being weird. I'm going to trim this 80 down to 50. And then we're going to take a break. And we're going to give out some awards. And I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then once we get down to once we're done with our first award segment, we're going to then take the 50 games that we have on this list and trim it down to a final 20. Then give out some more awards. And then the finale of this will be me ranking that top 20 and slotting them all in. And we'll really get to go deep on some of my favorite games this year. But the first part of this is kind of a bummer, if I had to be honest. The first, 10 minutes, however long this takes, is going to be not as fun, because I'm going to be talking about games I didn't really love, or just don't think are like in that conversation for being some of my favorite games this year. So we're going to try to get through that as quickly as possible and get to our first award segment as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything I have not said or talked about at all quite yet. I don't think so. I think I'm good. I think I've done everything that I've wanted to do in the lead up to this. So I think that we should just get right into it. All right. Then without further ado, let's cut this down from 80 to 50. And we will start with cutting games that I think were like at the bottom of like the games I played this year. starting with this game right here, Chill Fox. This is a kind of a stealth game, but you're a fox who has broken into a hen house and is hunting down chickens. And you are being hunted by dogs and humans. And there's 2 levels to this game. I like that it gave me vibes of an old PlayStation 2 game I love dearly that I played on this very channel called Dog's Life. Because there is a whole segment dedicated to you chasing a fox, because you are the dog, chasing a fox out of the hen house, which is cool. But it was not that good, and I think they're adding more levels in the future, and I don't know if I'm really gonna go back to it. It was fine. It's clearly a prototype for something that they probably want to build further out at some point, but at its current state's not very good. So, boop. See you later. All right. Next up. These are specific games I'm targeting out of the gate, and then we'll be a little bit more lackadaisical about where I'm cutting. And God, the music is so loud in my ear. I should. I don't want to turn it down. You know what? I'm gonna do this. Actually, I just realized my microphone's on my headset, so I can't really adjust that. All right, it's fine. Whatever. Next game that we're gonna talk about is this game, Spreadsheet. A game I was really looking forward to. It is an Excel game where you are in Excel and you're trying to fudge some numbers. It's basically a math game, actually, where you're just trying to fudge some numbers and help this corporation continue to be as shitty as possible. And I have to say, the Excel puzzles were not that good. They kind of fluctuated in difficulty and were kind of absurd at some points, where you're like, I don't know how in the fuck I was supposed to get to this solution, but we got there. And it's all meanwhile having like this commentary from a CEO that is like the worst. Like, just like a person that you have to hear talk, like you hear these fuckers talk on TV, like all of these classic CEOs people, and it's just using that speak, but also being very blatant about it, of like what kind of like it's not as it's meant to be a parody ultimately, right? So it's solid, but I didn't really enjoy it all that much, so we're gonna cut that. I'm curious, I'm gonna cut real quick to the music. Oh wow. Okay, so this I thought the shuffle would not work, but it did. All right, Cooler Burn the Souls of Limbo we're gonna listen to. All right. And the final game that I'm like for sure want to cut out of the gate right away is a game called Wheel World. This was probably my biggest disappointment of the year for me. This is a game where you are riding around on a bike and you are in like this open world where you can challenge people to races. And I was really looking forward to this one. Many people were saying it was very much like the Burnout games, which I had never played. I did check out. I actually did. I forgot that I took out or I checked out rather Burnout Paradise earlier this year, and it was fun. I didn't really stick with it, but that I was like, oh, I could see where this would be really fun if I was younger, and I don't know, still cared about PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era games, which I still do. I don't know why I'm shit talking that. I'm trying here. Anyways, Real World was really kind of a disappointment. Most of which is because the PlayStation version of the game ran like dog shit. And that was really upsetting. I felt really bad about that. I'm sure if it ran fine on other platforms, if I've played on another platform, I would have enjoyed this game a lot more. But I also think this game just overstayed its welcome. It kind of had this. It was this open world where there was like these 4 zones that you were getting like pieces of this legendary bike, and then once you built this legendary bike, you were taking on like this ultimate champion of the bike scene or whatever. And it could have ended around that point, and instead you end up going into like this dystopian other parallel universe thing. That's like a cyberpunky thing, which is like I maybe that's spoilers, but it's literally in the trailers. So sorry. But and it just keeps going after that, and it just I got to a point where I was like actively hate playing it in some ways. I hate's a strong word for this. I don't really hate this game. I'm just more disappointed that it did not end up living to the expectations that I thought this game would be. So, unfortunately, we're going to cut that as well. All right. Now that those 3 are out of the way, it's going to be interesting to cut this down even further. We have a lot more to go. We have 27 more games to cut for this first round. Let's start with some easy ones here as well. There's this game that's literally called Find 100 Ducks and Blast Them. It is a game where you are roaming around a house and you have a bunch of rubber duckies all over the place, and all you're doing is just shooting them with a gun. It's not gory. They're just toys. It's just a silly mechanic thing going on. Like, it's fun. It was a good time. They added a new level recently. I haven't really checked it out. But like, just a silly, straightforward concept for a game. Not anything amazing. So I'm gonna remove it from the list. But shout out to them for that game. I also will take this opportunity to cut Drywall Eating Simulator, which back to back, these 2 games are just such a summary of like this kind of shit that I play. But Drywall Eating Sim is a game where you have to listen to some of the most annoying people on the planet, and in order to keep your sanity, you need to destroy walls and eat the drywall. It's a very stupid but very good concept. I don't think it really like stuck the landing for me, but I respect what they were going for. It was also a game that was a bit frustrating in the sense that like I had to hit a bug where I could not progress further in the game, and I had to wait several days before I could go back into it once they finally fixed the bug. So just ultimately did end up being a great experience, but not really a bad game by any stretch. Just not going to be in the conversation. All right, so that brings us down to 25 more games to go. Don't worry, I won't do a countdown every single time. All right, let's see. Let me cut photography next. This is a game about I actually forget what this is. This was a 2D. This actually, I think, basically sounds what it is. I think it was like a 2D platformer, but you are taking pictures of things. Am I remembering that correctly? Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Let me see. Photography. I played this game so long ago. It's free, by the way, so it's worth checking out. If anything of what I'm about to say is interesting, but it says play as a curious bat on his mission to take a full-fledged photo of the moon. That's right. Okay, I do remember that. Run, climb, glide, and snap your way through an array of obstacles while interacting with the cheeky cat characters in the neighborhood. Can you collect all the moon cakes? Yeah, so this was a 2D game. Very cute, like nice art to it. Very, very short, very straightforward. Not like the worst game in the world by any stretch, but I'm gonna probably cut it. But hey, it's free, so if any of that sounds interesting to you and you have like 15 minutes, like I'm pretty sure that game was very, very short, you should check it out. Oh yeah, Castle Funk. All right, let's take out Bubumbu next. This is a hidden object game, but what you're doing is you're trying to find the objects and then put them back where they belong. So it's not just finding the objects, it is also then, like like for instance, there was, I'm trying to remember from the game, like if what specifically there was, but like I think there was one where you find a skull and then you have to find like an area where there was 2 bones that formed an X, and you have to make a skull and crossbones essentially with that. Very cool idea, very fun concept. The art in this, of course, but just based off of the look of this, is just peak. It is just, of course, very hand drawn. I love it dearly. But yeah, solid game, but not gonna make the list. Let's see. Try to think if there's like some other ones that immediately stand out that I want to cut. Okay. Let's do Worm. This game is a physics-based worm platformer. And you are just traveling along in dirt. And at one point you end up in space for some reason, and then you come back down for space. There's really no plot to this game. It is just you're a worm and you're vibing, and you're just traveling the world. And it felt fun to play. But really wasn't anything like super amazing. But it's cool. It's actually by the same people who made, I think it's by SBug, which is the same people who made Webbed and Isopod, which Isopod will be talking about later. So it's cool that they just have a love of making things involving nature, and specifically insects. They have a vibe in what they are going for, and I respect that. All right. Next up, let's talk about this game will end in 205 clicks. This is about a super villain of a story of some sort of cartoon, I want to say, who is, I think, asked to take a break for a day, or is no longer just no longer involved, I guess, to some degree. And it's basically them having a breakdown And the game, it literally is a game that you play, and you click 205 times, and that's it. And it's a very interesting kind of meta story. Like, it was a fun thing to play through. This is by the same person who made In Stars in Time, I want to say. And also, who I think they're making something else, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But cute little prototype. Yeah, neat game. Okay, let's do Unfair Flips next. This is a coin flipping game where the coin initially to start is weighted so that way you cannot land on heads very often. You're mostly landing on tails. But the goal of the game... Hi, Anthony. The goal of the game is to flip it 10 times in a row on heads. And it's kind of like an iterative game where initially you're flipping the coin over and over again. You're barely ever getting heads, but then it's kind of like a cookie clicker, right? Like, it's one of those, like, you are clicking to get upgrades, and as you're continuing to flip the coin over and over and over again, that's building up currency that you could spend to then make up your chances of landing on heads over and over again. And apparently there are like a bunch of different endings in this game. I ended up getting really lucky, and like the first ending was me accomplishing getting 10 heads in a row, which is really cool. Really fun concept of a game. I enjoyed my time with it, but I will remove from consideration. All right, so just want to count where we're at here. No, I said I wouldn't do that, but I just wanted to make sure. Because I don't want to trim too much before we move on to the next segment. But I do think I need to get a little bit quicker about what I'm cutting, who I'm cutting. I'm going to do Tori Saturn next. The Tori games are great. If you like bite-sized 3D platformers, they're pretty great. Ciactro, I want to say the developer's name is. They've made Super Kiwi 64, which I think is still my favorite one of theirs, but they've made an entire series of Tori games, and this is like their latest one. Tori is very much trying to appeal to like the Sega crowd in general, and like the more high speed Sega 3D platformer games. I enjoyed my time with it. It didn't blow my mind, and that's the only reason I'm going to take it off the list. But like, this is like, we're starting to get into the games that I respect, even though I didn't love, and Tori Saturn is definitely one of those games. Let's see. Let's talk Smoke Break. Actually, I kind of looked over this one, but this is I believe a student-made game. I played quite a few student-made games this year, one of which is, I think, gonna make the top 20. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Sorry for the Steam is auto playing some of these things, but I had to remember this one because it came out quite a few months ago. But it's a stealth game where you play as a puff of smoke, and you are trying to like essentially avoid the chefs in the kitchen. But the Steam description reads like this: Smoke Break is a lighthearted 3D stealth puzzle game where you play as Applewood, a living puff of smoke. By breaking machinery, dashing past bakers, and using smoke to grow, you can hunt down the ultimate, yet elusive, burnt pie. This is published by USC Games, which USC does a lot of these. They put out so many different games. I think that they have like an in-house, like I think they have like a video game degree program to some degree, and there's so many of these game jams that have come out. I played another one of theirs that came out last year called Ware Cleaner. Like just a really, really like really fun that they're making this stuff. And if you want to check it out, it's free. It's another one of those free games that, like, if you enjoy stealth, like a slapstick stealth type experience, and it's a short experience as well, that you don't have to lose time many hours to. It's great. But yeah, shout out to Smoke Break. All right. Next, I think I think now is I'm going to cut Little Wings Delivery. This is an adorable game where you play as a little bird who does not have wings, instead uses a boat to travel to different islands in the sky. You are basically surrounded by clouds in this game, and you're trying to find your way. You're trying to activate fans to kind of help clear the path to the next island, and you're just going around helping people with various tasks. A lot of them are like collectathon driven. This is very much a game that's like inspired by a short hike to some degree, but doesn't really have like the same gameplay loop necessarily. I think it was a good time. I didn't end up like loving my time with this, but like, man, I'm such a sucker for like the crunchy art aesthetic that this game goes for. And it is just really a delight to play. So I respect it a lot. Okay. I'm going to talk about Pastel Parade now. This is a Rhythm Heaven like, which we have a couple of them in this list this year. But Pastel Parade is basically like this really colorful, little young, like you have these students that are like meeting each other for the first time, and you go on like this little adventure that turns into weirdly a sci-fi story. It's I don't know. It's very hard to explain the plot, but I will say they had a lot of these very interesting rhythm games within them. Again, very very inspired by Rhythm Heaven. So I'm a sucker for these. Like I'm always gonna have a good time with them. I think this game falls short in just that, like, man, if you're going to lean into Rhythm Heaven, I do kind of wish that there was like a big finale to this, or a game that or like a remix system that they have in Rhythm Heaven, like in this game. And I think that's why I just didn't really hit the highs. And plus the story is like, it's very twee, but like in a way that like is not very interesting. And I just kind of ended up not really staying with it. But like, respect to the devs for making something that like legit. Like I think the rhythm gameplay is really solid. Like it's good. Yeah, let's talk about Grandma No, actually. So this is a slapstick, I don't even know what you would describe it as. It's kind of like Goat Sim, or maybe even like a Goose Game, where you have like this checklist of items that you need to complete, and your grandma, who is unhinged and doing crazy things, it's what you like. You look at the image of this game, it's what you think it is. It's a good time if you like turning off your brain and just, being a chaotic grandma. It's extremely bizarre, but it's a solid time. I enjoyed my experience with it, but I will be removing it. Let's talk Ilu. So this is actually a really neat game. It is a wooden mouse of sorts that was actually made in real life. So they use like stop motion animation to create get together this game. And you are just roaming around a maze, and you're trying to solve puzzles in order to escape the maze. I later learned that "elu" means escape in French. Maybe I don't know. It might not be French, but it's super charming. I tend to have issues with games that are like kind of aimless and you have to explore, especially one with fail states, which you kind of learn there are fail states in this game. So it didn't quite hit for me, but like it's really impressive what they were able to pull off. I respect it a lot. I will bow out. This is President Bird from Bits and Bops is this music here. One of my favorites from that game. Oh, we haven't talked about Asterism yet. Let's do that now. This is a concept album, a playable concept album, where you listen to the music and these handmade scenarios are playing out. I also think they use some sort of stop motion animation to it too. Like everything, all the models and stuff look like they were made in real life. It's incredible. Like animation's really, really good. I wish I liked the music more. The music didn't vibe for me, unfortunately, and that's kind of like, that's for it being a concept album, that's kind of a bummer. When that's the part that doesn't quite hit. So I'm going to not have it on this list, but it may hit for you, and I think it's something that is so worth looking good too. Like it's fascinating, like what they were able to pull off with that. Gonna hit some of these at the top here, starting with Bull Out. A game where it is a first-person game. I actually saw this game at GDQ, and I was like, I want to run that, or not run it like GDQ. I want to just play it. I want to experience it. It's a first-person shooter game, but you are, instead of a gun, you are throwing bowling balls and you're hitting into sentient pins. It's a very short game. It's just silly arcade stuff. I very much enjoyed my time with it. Yeah, it's solid. It's solid. And then we're gonna do Brew and Boogie Episode 1. Get the Milk. This is one of the games that I saw on the. I forget what they were nominated for, but they were one of the nominees at the Indie Game Awards. And I was just like, this is a charming art style that is a point and click adventure game, which just tends to be a genre that I like. And so I had a good time with it. It is only episode 1. There is more to the game. The game kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So that's part of the reason why I'm not including it. It also just didn't do anything that was like, oh my god, this is amazing. But very goofy, and also a cameo by someone that I would not in a million years would have expected. And you'll know it when you see it, when you play the game, but I will not say anything further. I guess I could do a spoiler shield, but I'm just gonna leave it hanging. All right, let's talk Date Everything. This game really had, really carried, where it was carried by the voice acting cast, and what a bizarre concept to be like, here's all these items in your home that become sentient because you're wearing these glasses, and you can build relationships with them and fall in love with them. Just very bizarre, but it was so bizarre where I was just like, even as someone who's not into the idea of dating sims at all, they kind of give, I'm kind of skeeved by dating sims, honestly. But this one was just so stupid that I was just like, I gotta check it out. And there was actually some genuine, sincere moments in the game that I was just like, oh, this is nice. You're forming bonds with these objects, but they are human beings that you could turn into. But I did reach a point in the game where I was like, okay, I've done enough, and they give you the option to just roll credits. They give you the option to end the game whenever. And so Date Everything, I was just kind of like, I'm good, and I walked out the front door, and that was the end of that story. It's a good time if you like these quirkier date simulator things, but I don't know. I know that there were some people who are more who are in the dating sim scene who enjoy playing them, who are kind of really mad about this game existing. I don't know. I personally can't speak to that. I think the game, I find this game to be very inoffensive in what it was trying to do. I think from the jump it's meant to be a satire, so it just didn't bother me at all. So, but it's not good enough to be on the list. So see you later. Let's talk. Again, I guarantee you could make a parody of me doing these lists and all the stupid games that I play, and just write nonsense for the game titles, and it'd be like, yep, this checks out. Flibius McDougal is another like adventure game type thing where you are this turtle who is trying to learn to fly, and you go to this island where you are gathering a bunch of materials to basically build a plane, I want to say. I don't know for sure if that's like the exact thing, but yeah, I literally played this a month ago and I'm already forgetting like the specific plots. This was another one I discovered at the indie like from the Indie Game Award nominations that I was just like, oh, this looks neat. It was cute. Not really the most interesting gameplay wise, not really the most interesting from character point of view or like story wise. Like it just exists. It's good. But I will say the game opens with this amazing claymation like intro generally, and it's like a really amazing. And I like shout out to the animation of this game on that front. All right. All right, so we have 9 more to go. I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm going to start to feel bad about cutting some of these games because I really like a lot of them. You know what? Here's an easy one I'm going to cut. Kirby and Forgotten Land. Nintendo Switch 2 Star-Crossed Worlds. Listen, Kirby and Forgotten Land is one of my favorite games of all time. They had a DLC. It's very good. There's no way it's going to make my top 20 if they really do anything that interesting. But I had a good time with it. So, there you go. All right, let's talk Ruffy in the Riverside. Now that we're back down here, I'm starting to notice a couple of games that I could be talking about. Anyways, Ruffy in the Riverside. I think a lot of people were comparing it to Banjo-Kazooie, which is a game I've dabbled with, but I never stuck with ultimately. But Ruffy in the Riverside is a 3D platformer where you can identify patterns and then throw those patterns onto new objects to kind of change their property or how you can engage with it. For an instance, one of the opening scenes in the game is that you are falling down a waterfall, but then you can then take the pattern of the grass and throw it onto the waterfall, and it just becomes grass. So then you stop falling, if I'm remembering correctly, and then you can just kind of make your way back up by climbing the grass. It's super cool conceptually. I just don't think it was. I don't think it was like the most amazing experience though. It's fine. It's very charming, great art overall. Like very retro-y as without really being a retro aesthetic. Because it has like the Paper Mario flat guy thing going on, but it's also this like. It has like a 3D world that like kind of looks like it was from like a PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 era game, but like not really feeling like that retro either. I don't know. It's a very bizarre game in the aesthetic point of view, but from a gameplay, it's like a solid 3D platformer. Pocket Boss. This is just a game where you play with graphs. There's a lot of like artistry in graph design, and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna pull on this like bar graph, and it'll elongate like it is in the image here. It's just a silly game where you play with graphs, and some of it is actually like gameplay. Like there's a Flappy Bird parody in it, and other times it's just you're just playing it with it. You're just fiddling around. But I am going to say no for the list. All right. Let's do... I'm getting lost in the song here. We're gonna talk Queue Up. Queue Up is, speaking of coin flipping, this is another coin flipping game, but it's kind of presented as an esport. And you are like playing around with like you play as like a specific character. You could choose from like a healer to like a gunslinger and like a couple of other like classes, and you basically are building up their like skills to then score the most amount of points per round for this coin flipping game. It's kind of built like a roguelite without being a roguelite. It's so bizarre. It very much leads into it being a big old parody. I think some of that parodiness got to me after a bit, like, where I just was like, this is no longer like, I'm not like I feel like some of the story bits of this game are kind of a waste of time, and I don't really care. But then also doing the coin flipping game over and over and over again, because this game is very repetitive, there's a point where it no longer actually feels that like compelling. So because of that, I didn't really hit for me. But I do think if you're into number go up, like if you're into the concept of number going up constantly, it's fun, but you do run the risk. You can make a lot of progress and then lose all of that progress in like one foul swoop. Like one really bad game can have you lose like all of the ranks of like your character that you've built up over time. Like it's a brutal game. I've never had to deal with that harshly. I did have there's like one or two rounds where I did go down quite a bit, and I had to kind of replay a couple of times, but you also are able to kind of like build yourself up enough where it doesn't matter. But like I guess I feel like I'm not talking about this well. I played as a healer, and the healer actually benefits from you losing these matches, which again, cannot stress enough, is just a coin being flipped. If you're on team heads or team tails or team Q or team up, regardless of what team you're on, if you lose, you benefit from that more with points than with winning. But then other classes, you do benefit from winning a lot more. So it's a very interesting game. With a very interesting cameo at the end, like the very, very end of the game, like cameos, I'll say plural, that I won't go into right now. But like a lot of really cool things that they're going for didn't quite land overall for me though. All right, 5 more. We're nearing the point where we can start wrapping up here and going to the awards part of this. I'm gonna start. Let's start talking about Henry Halfhead, a delightful game where you play as a half a head, but it's basically about Henry's life, and you just play through Henry's full life and everything that he goes through, being a half a head. And it's like kind of like a fun little physics game, especially for kids. Like this is a great game to play with a younger individual who just like could just be enamored by Henry, who has the ability to possess things, and so you could just become different objects. It's really cute, really charming. And this is not an achievement because most games make me do this, but I did cry at the end of this game. It's very charming, very good, but I will exit out. Do I want to talk about Jet Runner here? Let's do it. We'll talk Jet Runner here. Hey, if you like Neon White, this is that game essentially again. Only it's kind of skinned as like a sport, and you are this up and coming athlete for this sport, and you're just trying to get better over time. It's really cool. I like some of the mechanics that they implemented with it. And if you don't know Neon White, it's essentially a first-person platforming, first-person shooter game, where you are shooting at targets while trying to get like the fastest time possible in an obstacle course. It's very fun. I did have points though that I did get frustrated with how the game feels. I don't think the game really is like. I don't think the movement is very tight. And therefore I kind of found to be a bit frustrating at moments. But it is solid, and I think that maybe it depends on who you are. Maybe other people will play this game and be like, no, the game movement feels great. I think it's worth trying if you like Neon White-esque games, but for me, I was like okay with it overall. All right, I'm gonna work my way from the top here, see if there's anything that I for sure. Let's do electrifying incident. This is a Sokoban-esque puzzle game, but you have like a little grabby hook thing that you can move boxes around as well, and you're like kind of inside these like portal-esque like lab rooms almost. And it's satisfying. It's a good time. I highly recommend it if you like puzzle games. So I'm gonna go electrifying incident to leave, but it's good. I promise. Speaking of like disappointments, let's talk Goodnight Universe. This is from the same team who made Before Your Eyes. If you don't know Before Your Eyes, holy crap, you need to play that video game. I don't know if they have the option where you could play it without the webcam, but I highly recommend you play it regardless, because Before Your Eyes is the game I think I have cried the most at, which is probably not true because again I cry a lot, but that is like that story and how it unfolds and it reaches its apex. It's insane. That the twist that game has is incredible, and how it wraps up it just leaves me a puddle. Goodnight Universe is their follow-up game, and I think it's easy for me to say it does not land on a similar level, unfortunately. I respect what they were going for with this one. It's basically you play as a baby with psychic powers. And it's kind of like a game that like has themes of like found family. It has themes of, I don't know, like just growing up and what is it like to be a baby. You know, like what is it like to not really have your own autonomy almost of being inside of the body of a baby. But it really did not hit. I think the story went on a little too long, and it just was not like, it just did not hit on the grander scale. So I'm gonna cut it. All right. Okay, we have one more. Oh, this is it. This is we cut down to 50 here. What's gonna be that game? Ah, man, this is interesting. We're getting some back-to-back Rhythm Doctor music going on right now. That's very good. You know what? I have a game that I saw that I'm like, maybe we do this one. And I think I feel good about it. We're gonna cut Undusted. Letters from the Past Undusted. This game is it's kind of like a power wash sim game, like how satisfying a power washing game could be. But instead of power washing, you are cleaning up individual items, and you are very slowly like kind of revealing an item from underneath a bunch of grime. It's a very satisfying game. It does have a narrative that is super tear-jerky. It has it talks about your parent. It talks about the main character's parents a lot in this one, and it's kind of about reliving memories of growing up and stuff. It's really good, but I think it falls short for me because I don't think it is like the most amazing thing I've ever played. Again, this was a really good year for games for me. I want to preserve the games that are currently on this list a little bit more. So I think I feel good about the cut that I'm making here. So let's do it. All right. Well, that took an hour. Forgive me. We'll maybe speed up the process next. Oh man, actually no, we're gonna be here for a while. All right, it's fine. We move on. We're taking a quick break from cutting and everything to do, if I can make the right. Aha! It is time for the 2025 Cloudsourcing Awards, sponsored by Kelsey being extremely tired, not falling asleep, and having too much time on her hands. Because last year, if you remember, I reached out to some of my friends and family, and they're like, "Hey, give me some fun, titles for awards." And I got a couple of submissions from everyone, and I was able to kind of like equally balance it. This year, I asked the same group of people, and Kelsey, who it was like 9 o'clock at night, and she just went on a rampage suggesting so many different awards. So Kelsey did this to herself. Most of the awards are by her in this year's category. And it's I really appreciate it. She came up with quite a few bangers, and we'll talk about some of the ones I couldn't even use later on. But there's also a couple from other people as well that I was able to source. And this is if you don't remember from last year, I basically have a fun category that's brought to the table. And I nominate 3 games for it, and I pick a winner out of those 3. And some of them are very silly, and others actually made me think for quite a long period of time. So let's just dive right into it. We're hitting a very manic part of the Rhythm Doctor music. You gotta just forgive me for that. We'll keep going. Let's go ahead to our first category. Let's do game that moved me emotionally. Weirdly, does not start with Kelsey. It does start with Walsh. And the nominees for this are Anne Roger, Culebra and the Souls of Limbo, and Many Nights a Whisper. So, hold on one second. This is not great to listen to while I'm trying to do this. All right, thanks. All right. Anyways, oh shit! Ah, no, it spoiled the winner. All right, fine, whatever. We'll talk. We'll talk about this for at least from the nominees' point of view. But these games are the ones I think that really did hit me hardest this year. I think a lot of games did. A lot of them are going to be in the like a lot of them are going to be near the top of my list. But in terms of just like pure story driven stuff, of the things that really hit hardest, these 3 did. And so I think I might go spoilers for a couple of these, but I'm going to try not to for a moment. I want to start with I'll start with Culebra and the Souls of Limbo. This is a game about being in limbo. So it's people that have already passed on, and this is a game that is very much based off of man, I'm not good with this stuff, but it's essentially it's very much based off of Day of the Dead, like the cultural significance of that, because this is I think based off of like that holiday and that tradition that means a lot to people in Mexico, I want to say. But Culebra and the Souls of Limbo is it's a game where you play as this snake that you don't really know what your purpose is, but you're just this bony snake. And you go around and you are helping people kind of make peace with with their previous lives. And it has so many really, really touching moments throughout. Like a lot of really, like, the game has so much charm to it. It kind of has this Paper Mario aesthetic to it. But it is just like a straightforward adventure game with like some like games, like moments that kind of can seem like battles, but they're really not. There's very dialogue heavy game, and I don't know. Without going too deep, there's so many really amazing character moments throughout that just really touched me, and like I was on and off of tears throughout the whole experience. It's very good. Many Nights a Whisper is about you in the society that you're in. You have been chosen to light this giant gauntlet. That's in the giant. Gauntlet's not the right word, but this giant like cup of sorts that's like in the distance, and in order to light it, you need to shoot a fire arrow from like a very far away position, but you've been given this responsibility from a very young age, and you have to grow up training, and then one day you are given this task, and if you light the fire, all of the dreams of people that live in the society will come true, and if you don't, then calamity will be brought to your world. Very, very bright and cheery stuff here. But it's part of the game, along with this archery aspect of the game where you are trying to light as many different like trying to train on lighting up as many of these cauldron type stuff around you. Another part of the game is that at nighttime, people do visit you, but they are hidden behind a wall, and they all grow out their hair where they have a braid, and they through the wall they put their braid through, and they say what they wish for, and your job is to then kind of chop it, and when you chop it, that would signify that you are going to carry out their wish, or if you don't chop it, then they won't. And there's some like wishes that were like kind of like weird that you're like, you actually have to think like, do I want to give this person their wish? Like, it's the really fun narrative moments in that sense. But I'm gonna put up the spoiler shield for this one. For Many Nights a Whisper, there is a moment near the end of this game where one of the last people that you meet, or that comes to the wall, is your mother. And your mother kind of says, hey, I am so sorry for putting you through this position, and that you have had to grow up in this world without parents, without being able to live a normal life, that you've had to force to train like this for every day of your life, and that you were not like, I am so sorry, and my wish is that you could forgive me. And like, Jesus fucking Christ, that was like, oh my God, that hit so hard. And I was so I like, there was so many moments like that throughout the game, but that was such a culmination point. And yeah, and just I will say, as also spoilers, one of the ending points of this game is that you do get to experience the day that you have to actually light the amulet or whatever. Again, I'm using different terms, but you get the idea. Where you have to light the thing, and I did miss, and calamity doesn't actually come. I think it's very much just a it's meant to like imply like this is just like a religious thing. This is just a religious society that chose to believe in this. But it's and it doesn't imply that the calamity won't come. It just doesn't come immediately. But at the very least, like at the end of the game, you're like, well, we didn't do it, but I'm free. I've done what I could. I am now free. And there's just something about it that just it's so good. So that's that. That's the end of Many Nights of Whisper. But the winner, I already spoiled from earlier, goes to Anne Roger. And I won't go into spoilers about this one. I think people should just experience it themselves. It's a very short game, but let's just say the game starts and you're playing as this child who doesn't really, who's kind of disoriented and is also, living with has a man inside of their home that they don't recognize, and all he is doing is kind of like walking around telling her like to take her meds, and like she doesn't really know what's going on, and so it kind of plays like a horror game. And I'm just gonna leave it like that. I was already kind of already realized what this game was about from the jump, but if it doesn't, but if you at all have like, if that premise interests you, you should play this game. It is, if you played Florence, it's very similar to Florence. It's very gameplay light, but I would argue that this game is so amazing from a gameplay point of view because it really, I think it does a very good job of putting you in the position of the protagonist in this game. It's very good. So Kelsey says in the chat, shifting, screaming over Many Nights of Whisper. I believe you meant to say shitting, but still, yeah, no, that's that moment really hit hard. Many Nights of Whisper is very good. Most used game map by Kelsey. The nominees are Skin Deep, and Strange Antiquities. So is kind of like a Metroidvania. You are roaming around as this worm, and you are exploring with the use of these bombs that make up your body essentially. And a lot of the game is you looking at the map over and over again and seeing what you're supposed to do next. And a lot of it is backtracking to places after you learn a new way to conquer something. You end up going backwards and using it on that thing. Like it's very much a puzzle Metroidvania type gameplay mechanic. It's super charming. But that game map I used a lot. Skin Deep. This map system is actually very interesting because Skin Deep is an immersive sim, and you're exploring these spaceships. But you don't have like a map that you can open up via pause menu, if I remember correctly. Instead, you actually have to find like these portals on the ship that have portals, not the right word, kind of like just like these like computers like around the ship that have like a map on it, and you can kind of see the layout of the ship as well as where all the enemies are, because it's an immersive sim. You're more focused on stealthing around and taking down enemies rather than it being like a straight up like combat game. But Skin Deep, I think the map for that was so interesting because like you really needed to rely on it in order to know your way through each and every single map. Like you need, or each and every level, like especially the utilization of like different, like when you're hiding in vents in that game, you need to know where the vents are. So you have to find those terminals. That's the word for it, the terminals. And you have to read the map, because otherwise it's gonna be very hard to kind of figure things out on your own. I mean, there's some visual things that you could kind of find on your own, like oh, this is clearly where a vent is or whatever. But the map was super used for my playthrough. And then you got Strange Antiquities, a game that is about having all these unique antiques that all have their own like I don't know. They all have their like a little magic imbued in all of them. Like it is a very mystical, weird world, very macabre in presentation. But a main central mechanic of this game is that you use the map to move around to different places, and like the map is actually a big puzzle. Like you get these letters sometimes that kind of hint at like finding a new antique at a new location, or and then looking at the map and being like, okay, where on the map does that hint that I just got from this letter, like how do I find that? And so like it's really cool. Like I enjoyed my time so much with like finding the different all the different items in this game, and honestly, Strange Antiquities wins this category. Like I think it's just, to me, out of all the games that I played this year, that was the one where I used the map a lot. It was a central part of the gameplay more than anything else. So shout out to Strange Antiquities. All right. Next up, game who serves the role of comic relief in a Shakespearean tragedy by Kelsey. We talked a bit about Henry Halfhead. I just feel like Henry Halfhead would fit well in a Shakespearean tragedy, despite him being definitely not in a game suited for that. Poco is a point-and-click adventure game that is also a bit weird in presentation, a bit macabre, a bit like there's a sinisterness underneath a game that I think overall I would deem as being very cute. And I feel like Poco it would also kind of like fit the vibes of a comic relief character in a Shakespearean tragedy. And then you have the Trolley Solution, which there's no like central characters in that game. Like if you had to say anything, like the central character is the trolley itself, because the Trolley Solution plays around with a lot of silly concepts and things. But one of the main things that it's doing in that game is it's talking about philosophy and talking about it has a lot of different like philosopher quotes and things like that. And like, I don't know, maybe not like, this is just me being like uneducated when it comes to Shakespeare. I did read a couple of plays in high school and stuff, but I picture Shakespeare as being a very like philosophical like work of like a lot of philosophy in his work, I would guess. And I don't know, that like that to me just made the most sense, that the Trolley Solution being very philosophical and how it's built. I'm just like, it might kind of fit into the Shakespearean world a little bit. But none of these, the Henry Halfhead and Trolley Solution, they're just such weak nominations for this overall that I ended up giving it to Poco. Poco just like, I just think that Poco kind of hits the like the weird vibes of a Shakespearean tragedy, of just like that, like there is silly things that can happen in these plays, but ultimately there's always something kind of dire about it as well. All right, next up, Best Mouthfeel by Go Cubs. Got Dog Walk, Tall Trails, and Thailand 2. And I'm not going to go deep on this one because we're already very long in the tooth with everything, but but all three of these games have such a unique animated look to them, that all of them look very, very delicious to have in your mouth. You know, Dog Walk is actually like a claymation animation type thing going on, so it looks like it would have a good mouthfeel. Tall Trails, mainly the Gollum guys, yeah, I think they're golems in this game. They are all like, they all kind of have like this nice, they look like they have the nice texture to them that they would fit well in the mouth. And then Thailand's 2 is all about these tiny figurines, but also they're living amongst bigger objects, like, and most of it is like food. And so I felt like, you know what, all of this probably has great mouthfeel because they're the right size. And nothing is like pointy and sharp or anything like that. Like this all feels like it could fit in the mouth really well. And therefore Thailand's 2 is going to win that. Game that should not be added to soup by Kelsey. Clover Pit, Drywall Eating Sim, and Worm. We've kind of already talked about the first two already, so I'm going to just talk about Clover Pit. we don't have to go deep on the game right now, but that game has a whole segment of it that involves body parts, very very bloody body parts, and I don't know. That game should not be added to soup. Best top notes if distilled into a designer perfume by Kelsey. We got Isopod, Letters from the Past Undusted, and Woodworm. So this one, I have to be honest. I in hindsight, I think I chose 3 that would not make good perfumes. I think almost all perfumes would probably be more flowery in nature. But I felt like Isopod and Undusted had like an aspect of nature imbued with them, like especially since like some of the items that you clean in Undusted have like flowers growing on them. But Isopod, you're just out and about, you're in nature, you're roaming around as a bug, and it seems delightful in that vein. But then you have Woodworm, and listen, just consider this to be a conversation similar to the best pleasing scent to last year, because Woodworm, I think, would smell amazing, because it is just a game where you are chewing up wood, but doesn't chopped wood smell great? Chopped wood smells amazing. It is one of the peak smells out there, and therefore, I have Woodworm as the winner. Worst game for somebody to read too much into and use to make insights into my personality by Anthony. This one was an interesting one. I was trying to think of how I wanted to interpret this one. Kelsey says, no, my favorite perfumes are not floral. Okay. They are woody and earthy. Okay, I'm on the right track. See, I don't wear perfume, and so I was being extremely I was not thinking about what other perfumes would smell like that. So I appreciate the insight on that. Anyways, yeah. So to me, this category is so interesting because I'm like, what would be a game that someone would see me playing and make a lot, would just read so much into it? And I think all 3 of these are great examples. Not that I hate any of these games. I do think that at least I think all of them have a representative of like who I am as a from like a gameplay point of view. Like I enjoy these games, but Baby Steps is about a man-child who gets teleported, who gets isekai'd essentially, and is put into this world where he has to learn how to walk, and has to then make his way through a lot of tumultuous terrain. But it's a lot about how he hates himself, and how he hates the man that he has become to some degree. But he's also too prideful to take help from anyone. And I don't know, a lot of that is, there's some, you could read like maybe like 1% into it from my point of view. Maybe you could read a lot more, but it's still I look at Baby Steps, and there is like this part of me that feels like people would be like read too much into it in a way that I'm like, that would make me uncomfortable. So there's that. Boo Bumbu, nothing. This has really nothing to do with this game itself. I just feel like I talk about how much I love indie games and how many different kinds of indie games that I play, that people would be like, this would be the poster child of like the kinds of games that like people would think that I play. Like you don't play the Claire Obscures, you don't play the big AAA games. You play Boo Bumbu, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, yeah, kind of. I mean, I feel like I have a little bit of better taste than just calling it Boo Bumbu and moving on with your life. But and then there's Repo, for which, to be so clear, Repo is a contender for Game of the Year for me. But I feel like people would look at Repo and be like, Oh, that means you're super into horror games, you're super into being scared, you're super like I feel like people who do not understand what repo is on a deeper level would you take it and be like and run with it like, oh man, like you're this is the type of shit that you're into, and that is so not my thing. Um and so because of that, and I think repo makes the best argument of the three here. I went with Repo as the winner of this category, which again, despite it being a game that I for sure am going to be talking near the top of this list for, um, I am, you know, I just don't, I don't, I think that people would take the wrong ideas of what kind of games I like away from this category. So, or from this game anyway. All right, last one for this round. Wettest fart sound effects by Kelsey. The nominees are Grandma No, Guilty as Sock, and Time Flies. And man, I'm like I don't know how to further going into this. So this is Kelsey this was the very first thing that Kelsey came to the table with, and so I really thought about it. I wanted to give it the time of day, and I did land on these three. But while Grandma No and Guilty as Sock have like the fart button, they have a fart button where you can just have a series of farts that you can just keep on hitting over and over and over again. All right, respect to that. But there is one moment in the video game of Time Flies that I do think has both the shortest but wettest fart I have heard in a video game to date. And so, if you'll allow me, I'm gonna pause the music for this for a moment. All right, so this is the fly is moving into a human body, and you're gonna hear it in a second. One more time. One more time. Four more. Okay. No, I won't do it anymore. But yeah, so I don't know. That to me was that hit on that level for me. So there you go. And I believe that will conclude the first half of the awards. Let's go ahead and jump back to hold on a second. Okay. Let's jump back to the awards. Or the list, I should say. All right. We have to cut another 30 games. And this is where things are going to get a lot more interesting here. Because I will say, I do think I look at this list and I would say I did really like a lot of the games on here. But we got to start making cuts somewhere. So I'm going to start with Mr. Goofer's Minigame Arcade Party. A delightful arcade collection of things, not actual arcade games, but just arcade things that are similar to games that you would play in the arcade. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time with it. This apparently was made by a single individual, I believe, or probably a couple of people made it, but they like this is not a game that is not. I don't know if anyone else has played this on Steam. It's I think the last time I checked, there is not a lot of reviews for this one. But it's good, and we're gonna talk about it a bit, I think, in the awards portion of this. But man, I really respect what they were going for, but I'm going to cut it for the top 50. Another game that I want to cut, unfortunately, is To a T. This is Kiyata Takahashi, otherwise known as the creator of Katamari. This is his next game, and a delightful game where you play as a kid who is stuck in a T-pose position. And it is not in any way It is not a game that is meant to make fun of people who live with who are not able-bodied. It is fully a game about embracing being different. And it also, and there's a whole song about being the perfect shape since you're shaped like a T. Um, and there is this story goes bizarre places, quite honestly, in a way that like I think somewhat undermines what it was going for in the first place. Um, but is still a very much a delight. It is not the kind of game I thought it was going to be, though. I thought this was going to be full blown 3D platformer, and it was a little bit more restrictive than that. But it has a lot of fun segments. It's like if you know Takahashi's work, you know it's just going to be goofy and just a delight through and through. But unfortunately, it will be removed from the list. All right, I'm going to talk about While Waiting. This game is it's a game that is about you going through the journey of someone's life, but you are put in situations where you are waiting for the next thing to happen in a scene. And while you're waiting, you could do a bunch of other silly things, and it's another one of these like checklist type games. But I don't know. This did hit for me on some level. I found the gameplay itself to not really be that great. I found it to be kind of frustrating, but like I don't know, any game that is about the progression of time, or just like going through someone's life, everything that they go through, and being able to live vicariously through that is so like it hits so hard. I really appreciate what it was going for, but I'm going to cut it from here. Tiny Lands 2 we'll talk about next. This is a hidden object game, or not quite a hidden object game. It's a game where you're trying to compare two scenes and find differences. It's really good. The art in here is amazing. I had a great time playing it, but I just don't think it's gonna be in the top 20. But I like it. Okay. All right. I have to say I wasn't thinking I was gonna do this this early, but I'm gonna cut Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I really did enjoy this to a point where I was almost considering like, oh man, do I like this more than Mario Kart World to an extent? But I played through the Grand Prix and I haven't really touched the game since. It's still very good. Like it's a solid one of these. Especially the track design and the songs and everything. Like it's still very, very solid. But I don't know. It just didn't super stick with me either. Like I just don't know if I'm ever going to play it again. Which is a shame because they also have a lot of DLC coming out with a lot of different characters, and that's cool. But I don't know. I just have to be honest with myself and be like, was it really like that amazing? Like I don't know. So I'm gonna cut it. All right. All right, let's talk about Little Problems. This is a logical deduction game in a similar vein to Case of the Golden Idol, where you are finding items in a space, and you get words, and then you're filling in those words. You're storing them into a word bank, and then you use those to fill out basically the solution or to whatever you're trying to solve in that particular scene. And they play around with this very nicely. It's definitely a lot more cheery and colorful compared to a Golden Idol game. It's good. I had a good time with it. Not the most amazing thing either, though. So, is the seat taken? Another logical deduction game. Only this is you are trying to figure out how to place these little shapes in the right place. And these little shapes are not like just objects; they are sentient. They all have their preferences. Like one of the first levels that you play is that you are trying to get them place these passengers onto a bus, and you have to make sure that all the passengers are that everything that they need out of the ride is accommodated, that they don't sit next to someone that's playing loud music, or you not make sure that they're not sitting next to someone that smells, or that they do want to sit next to a person regardless of who it is. They do want to have a person that they can talk to. So really, really adorable game. I had a great time playing it. Just not going to make the list. Next I will do Dreams of Aether. This is a WarioWare like. This came out on April Fool's Day by the people who make Rivals of Aether, and they basically used their they basically use their characters, the various characters that they have for that fighting game. They put it into this WarioWare like that is really good, like actually genuinely great. I would argue of like they actually kind of put this to the next level where they have a sequence where you are playing multiple WarioWare-esque games at the same time, and you have to kind of balance the two, which I think is really cool, like a cool way to iterate on that. I had a great time with it. It's not going to be on the top 20 list, but like I do want to shout it out, especially like I love people who make things for April Fool's Day. I know April Fool's Day is never a liked holiday, and I get it. I understand that the brands are out a little wild on that day and they're not always great, but if you can make something tangible that's a little different than what you usually do, you get creative with it and it ends up being something that's actually really fun and delightful, then I love that Dreams of Aether exists and that they were able to make it, and I'm very happy about that. The Dark Queen of Morthalone, I think that's what it says. I actually have never really realized the name of the game, but it's kind of hard to read it. But essentially, this is a game where you play as a Dark Souls boss, and you are basically you have the power to just destroy the player over and over again. But you and the player end up having like a conversation over the course of the player consistently trying, and it's kind of like talking about inevitability, and like what your purpose is in the world. And it's like it really runs deep for something that is just you being like the boss. And I think it's really cool. I had a great time playing it. Not gonna make the list. All right, this is where it's going to start to get really, really challenging, because I really like everything that's on here. All right, I'm going to talk SpongeBob. SpongeBob Titans of the Tide. This 3D platformer is the yet another SpongeBob platformer from Purple Lamp, who was the ones that remade Battle for Bikini Bottom, and they also made Cosmic Shake a couple years ago. They made Titans of the Tide. And here's what I'll say. To give this game some flowers here, they did more with this as a 3D platformer than anything else that they have made, like including the Battle for Bikini Bottom remake in a way. Like, I think, while I love Battle for Bikini Bottom so much, I think that game has its limitation of it being a bit on the slow side and not really being the most engaging from a platforming point of view, purely from that point of view, not from a, everything else about that game is incredible. But I think that particular, that nitpick I would have for Battle for Bikini Bottom, I do think Tides of the Tide does a little stronger. I think this game is really fascinating from like a mechanical point of view, in that you are switching back and forth on the fly between SpongeBob and Patrick, and they have different abilities. where like you are in the air, just for instance, you are approaching this platform and there is a wooden block that has a karate chop symbol on it. You can use SpongeBob to then karate chop that wooden block, and while you are still in the air, quickly flip to Patrick, and he has like this grapple hook where he can grapple and pull the platform out so that way you land on the platform. It's really neat. Like I have to say, like I have to hand it to them. Like they did a really good job with that. And also the boss fights were pretty fun in this one too. Like they did a good job with it. But it, unfortunately, I think it's bogged down by the fact that it's modern day SpongeBob, which I don't know. Say what you will, I do think that there is such a clear downgrade between what SpongeBob was in the first couple seasons and what it is now, and that unfortunately the characters in this game are fucking annoying, and it makes it a lot not as fun to experience to a point where I did play this game, half of it kind of muted. But I did have a good time with it. But it's that combined with the fact that this game is, and I don't complain about this stuff really ever, but it kind of was too short. Like I feel like I came to its conclusion very, very quickly. And I do think I think that there's a way to have a short game and have it still be very satisfying. I don't think they pulled that off. So I'm gonna get rid of it. All right. Next up, who's going? Oh, I haven't talked about this one yet. The root trees are dead. Let's talk about root trees are dead for a moment. So, early this year, if you're at all watching this and don't know for some reason, we have a podcast that has been on and off of hiatus, mostly off, called The Gaming Coop. And we were talking about video games. And earlier this year, I talked about Root Trees Are Dead, and I was very glowing of it. But a couple of days before that recording, I found out that the very first draft of this game, the very first version of this game, was made entirely with AI art. And then when they re-released it on Steam, they utilized an actual artist to make the rest of the art in the game. And that is good that they decided to do that. I at the time I was like, yeah, that's a thing, and I am bummed that they had to go default to using AIR in the first place, but it's good that they removed all of it and that this game now is completely free of that AI art. But as the months have gone on, and especially not just regarding this game, but just in general, like the world sucks so bad right now, but specifically when it comes to AI, just how much it's being pushed and how much it's kind of like destroying a lot of the things that you love about art in general. And it is, sorry, I'm just getting a text from my mother, just making sure everything is okay. The I You know what? Hold on a second. You know what? Hold on. Enjoy the standby screen. We'll return to the start in just a second. Okay, we are back. I forgot where I left off on this, on the talking about the root trees are dead, but this is what's going to go into a long soliloquy about, like, listen, I think that I think I just find I've reached a point where I no longer have patience for anything with generative AI, and therefore I think one of the things that is interesting to me, especially when you look at the original Root Trees Are Dead, the AI version, is that they based a lot of the art that ended up being hand-drawn on the AI art that was made for the original game. And that was very evident where you had like these soulless kind of human characters in the base game. And to the point where like it's so noticeable that they changed the cover of the game. They had the three sisters like sitting there that they were like, oh, you know what, shit, let's go in and change just those three characters because they are the cover of the game to characters that actually look like more normal human beings. And then the ones that you're seeing here are the more normal ones, but even still, it's not great. I just, all of it gives me the ick. And I just think in general, if you use AI in any part of the process in making your game, even if it is just for basic concept design, I'm sorry, I just don't think I'm that interested in playing it. I think that using a machine like that to come up with, like, even just from things from a conceptual point of view, is just like man, just be creative. Like, just, even if you are shit at drawing, just go to a piece of paper and draw something down. Give actual artists the time of day to look at that and be like, oh, I see what you're going for, let me try my hand at this. And that's how, like, that's the process, that's how you make something. And so it's just frustrating that all of this is it has completely infested every part of our lives, but especially in Jesus Christ, what is the music? Mario Kart World, thanks. Anyways, we're just gonna skip that. Anyways, I don't know. Long story short, I'm not gonna include this on the list, despite the fact that the game, I think itself, is very solid. It's another logical deduction game where you're basically using Google to build out a family tree. It's solid, but everything about it's what I have found out after playing it has just does not work well for me personally. And listen, I may find out that a lot of the games that I love from this year and a lot of the games I end up loving next year, while they don't disclose it, do also use Gen AI, and that's just maybe the future that we're entering towards. I personally am not gonna sit here and just accept that as just being the reality, though. That's an extremely stubborn take, but like, as long as things continue, as long as we are able to still create things as humans, I'm going to lean into supporting that more than supporting people that are just using Gen AI for whatever bullshit, bottom line they want to meet. So that's where I fall on that anyway. All right. Let's see. Isopod. A delightful 3D platformer where you play as an isopod. It is weirdly about anti-capitalism, but it's neat. I enjoyed my time with it. It has some good movement tech overall. I think the one thing that was really frustrating about this game, though, was the boss fights. The boss fights really were not very good, and were actually quite frustrating in how they were implemented, because they were they were not like well designed to, like, they were just not well designed enough for the game that it was to like have it at all make sense. So super frustrating on that front, but really was a delight. They have a skin that makes the isopod look completely rainbow, and that's a thumbs up in my book. This is the time where I'm going to get rid of some multiplayer games. Like Peak, we played like one session of this game, me and my friend group, but we had a good time with it. We just never returned. It's just it's a little harsh. The game's a little harsh. And I think that's one of the big reasons why we haven't gone back to it. And we've been wanting like maybe to use it with mods or whatever to make it a little bit easier. Because it is fun, like climbing up the mountain and using the proximity chat, like to hear people that are higher up or lower than you, and like to hear them echoing in the distance. Like it's very good. Like it's a very good use of proximity chat. Goofy characters, like it's solid, but I don't know. It just, we didn't stick with it. It's therefore I'm going to just remove it. And finally, Guilty as Sock. Another one that we only did one session of, but it's one that I hope we go back to. It is a game where you play as these little sock characters in a courtroom, and you can set up your own court cases and make arguments, for or against like a defendant of your choice. And you could do things that are personal, like from real life, or you could just do made up shit. Like it's completely up to you. It's a toy box more than anything else. And I played this on my birthday. It was a lot of fun. I hope we get to play it more at some point. It's very, very fun. All right. Let's do Dog Walk. I found Dog Walk to be delightful. It was kind of a tech demo, and I think because of that, it just wasn't like, oh my god, one of the greatest games of the year. But man, this is a claymation game that is just like is gorgeous, just so good. I had so much fun playing this for the little bit that I did, and they have a great credit sequence where they kind of show the making of the game. Man, I really, really loved what they were going for this. It's like I pointed this as be like, this is why I love video games so much. It's very good. So, Kirby Air Riders. Let's talk about that. Kirby Air Riders. I have to say, like, I think of the 3 kart racers that came out this year, this is the one I liked. I kind of liked the least in terms of like wanting to stick with it. But I also would make the argument that it's probably the best Switch 2 game that came out from Nintendo this year, in terms of like man, they had a vision for this game and they fucking crushed it. Like what they were going for is great. Like it is so well done. I have so much respect for what Sakurai did with this game. There's so much depth to it. It's bizarre. It's just a weird game. But I it's not gonna be in my top 20. But like, shout out to Kirby Air Riders. It's like, it's way better than I thought it was gonna be. I played through the campaign mode, and it was awesome. Like I had a great time with it. Let's do Luminous Arise. This is Luminous is a game that's kind of similar to like Puyo Puyo, in that you are merging, you're dropping items down and you're trying to merge them. It's in like the Tetris like world. This is the same developer who made Tetris Effect, but this is the Luminous version of that. I played through the campaign, had a good time. I used I wasn't like, I didn't love like the items falling like as you're playing, which is the normal way to play Luminous, but they did have the accessibility feature where you can kind of make the choice of where you want to drop the items and you don't have to worry about time. So that was the delight. Weird songs, weird music overall, but like I think that they were generally very, very solid overall. Presentation was amazing. It's good. It's solid, but nothing that blew my mind either. I'm gonna take out Trolley Solution. This was I I talked about it a bit, but this is Trolley Solution is a level-based game where you're presented with a choice, and you're presented with one track or the other. It's the trolley problem just over and over again with different questions being asked, and you could pick one choice and you just move on to the next level. But there's another choice that if you pick it, unlocks a secret level that then like expands the game in a unique way. Like the game like changes what it is basically for each of the levels. Where at some point you are playing a visual novel, at another point you're playing a first person shooter game, and like it all is themed around the choice that you just made, which is really cool. I really liked my time with it. And it was very silly to go through, but I am going to probably knock it off of this list. Okay, we're down to the last 12 here. I had to really start to make some hard choices now. We're gonna start with Strange Jigsaws. Really, a bizarre jigsaw game, a jigsaw puzzle game that like kind of gets a little meta, gets a little weird, and like just plays around. I mean, quite literally, it's called Strange Jigsaw. It's kind of what the name of the game is, but it's like it's not just like surface level. Like there's some really weird, interesting things that it does. I had a good time with it, but I think I definitely like other games on this list more. Strange Antiquities. I had a good time with it. As I said, we already kind of talked about how the game is. You basically, fulfill requests for people, while also searching for more antiques on your own. It's very good, but again, just not something that I would have high on my list. Okay. All right, next game is going to be Woodworm. Woodworm is delightful. You play as a worm, and you're carving out little shapes for this little gremlin guy, and it's a delight. It's very challenging, but I had a good time with it. I never really got to finish all the puzzles, and I did want to, but I just didn't come back to it. Just again, really delightful little game that I do highly recommend people check out. There's an itch.io version of this game that has been out for like the last like year or two. But then the Steam version came out that's a little bit more expanded. But it's still short, and it's like if you like puzzles, it's up your alley. All right, I'm gonna take out Clover Pit, unfortunately. This is a game that is a roguelike, a roguelike slot machine game. It's super well done. I had a good time with it. I dropped off of it because I was not really knowing what the end game was. It started to get a little challenging. I was just like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this right now. But then I ended up finding out like what you have to do in order to finish it. And I was just like, okay, that might be doable. We might be able to pull it off. It just doesn't hit in the same way as like other games of this ilk have. But it's still a very solid one of these. I think again, it has that crunchy graphic aesthetic that really speaks to me. But then on the flip side, it has like the super horror, grotesque part of it that does not. So it kind of ended up being a mixed bag overall, but I really did like my time with it. And I think in the similar vein, but maybe just a little bit better, might get rid of Nubby's Number Factory as well. I loved my time with it. It's very good. I just didn't, again, it's another one of those, like, if I put so much time into it, it would definitely be higher on this list. I just didn't. I think I did beat it twice. I did 2 runs, I think, that I was able to reach the ending of. Love the aesthetic. Love what it's going for. I definitely think it is the strongest one of these outside of, say, like a Balatro. Um, but yeah, I just I don't. It doesn't feel right for me to put it on the list overall. So man, it's about to hit some hard hours here. I'm gonna do Wednesdays. I'm gonna cut Wednesdays here. Wednesdays is a kind of a rough game in terms of subject matter. Um, I think to do it better justice, I'm just gonna read the description off of Steam, and it starts with quote: "The hardest part is not to speak up; it's been being heard." It's part video game, part graphic novel. Wednesday seeks to raise awareness about child sexual abuse through a surprisingly hope-filled story. This is a very good game. Like you listen to these stories from different parts of the main character's life. It is deeply uncomfortable at times, but it's like stories that need to be talked about or perspectives that need to be talked about. Um, there was like maybe like one or two parts where I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if we really need to have this be part of the game, but it's fine. Um, but like there is a very great moment near the end of this game that like I find to be very satisfying. Um, but it does the route of like, well, you could choose what you want to say, and I don't always love that aspect of it. Um, but I really respect what the developer is going for here, and I feel like it was very moving, especially with I think how it closed in general was very good. But not gonna make the list. Unfortunately, I'm gonna cut South of Midnight. This is a kind of a platform action platformer. It kind of reminds me of Psychonauts. The game is all about like it's about Hazel, whose house with her mom in it is washed away, and it's her hunt to find her. And meanwhile, she gains these like Weaver powers that allow her to um, kind of navigate the this navigate the game, but also ends up running into situations where she uh, deals with these monstrosities that are based off of Southern folklore, and they have like these really deep stories that are tied to them. Um, and the music in this game is amazing. The presentation's amazing. Like there's so much in this game is so good. The reason that it's getting cut is that I deeply did not like the combat in this game, to the point though that I will give them credit. Um, it, it is it is a game that I really would recommend to people. They did have the option to turn off combat overall in the game, and so that was nice. But it did mean that some set piece moments were missing, unfortunately. Um, and I think that it just hurt the momentum of the game overall. But man, they just did such a good job with it. Otherwise, I really highly recommend people experience it. Let's cut Duck Detective. I really like this game. This is a sequel to a logical deduction game from last year called Duck Detective and the Secret Salami. This is Duck Detective and the Ghost of Glamping. It's a very silly game. Very strong voice acting, somewhat positive, maybe a little negative. But yeah, like if you enjoy the games in the ilk of Case of the Golden Idol, it is more of that. This to me is just has way more charm than something like Little Detective did. I personally still don't think this game is like oh my god amazing, so I'm gonna not have it on the list, but it's really good, and I think that they're just gonna keep on getting better. All right, what I'm gonna do here is I want to start kind of rearranging some things just to kind of give an idea where we're at. So I think Ann Roger, Baby Steps, Bits and Bobs, Blueprints, Consumi, Deltarune are all, I'm gonna say they're all safe. Same with Wonder Stop here. Same with What's Upon Katamari. Same with Rhythm Doctor. I would say the same for Ooh. I think Tall Trails is safe. I think Poco is safe. I think Squeakross is safe. Time Flies is safe. I think Skin Deep is safe. Oh, I have not been pulling up Repo. Repo absolutely is safe. Spilled is safe. And then it's down to 3. Oh, I'll do Many Nights of Whisper as well. So we're down to 6. Desplote, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Culebra, Souls of Limbo, Mario Kart World, Power Wash Simulator 2, Sword of the Sea. And this is where it gets really interesting. I think, unfortunately, to start, I'm going to cut Sword of the Sea. A gorgeous game that I think is might be Giant Squid's best game to date. And yet, I just think it's so worth the experience overall. Like if you have 2 hours of your time where you just want to like vibe and sand surf, it's awesome. It reminds me so much of Abzu, which is their first game, I want to say. But man, like it reminds me of a combination of Journey and Abzu. It's like they perfectly pieced it together. It's all by the same people. But I will say, like, as cool and amazing that experience as it was, it hasn't stayed with me a whole lot. So I'm gonna cut it. I know I spoke its praises, but I am going to unfortunately cut Culebra and the Souls of Limbo, only because I do think this game has had a problem with how it wrapped up. It's a bummer. Like, we already played this song. All right, hold on. Let's we haven't done anything Katamari, so I'm gonna do that. We're gonna play Katamari for a bit. This game had a problem wrapping up its story, and I think in a way that like kind of took me out of it, and it kind of left me kind of confused. It did have like a couple of bugs that annoyed me, but nothing too crazy. But a lot of its end sequence in general, I think I just was like, it kind of fumbled the bag, despite having some amazing top moments throughout. but I just don't. I feel like of what's the list that's here, I feel comfortable cutting it the most. Hmm. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut Donkey Kong Bonanza. Um, I think it is where this was gonna come to, unfortunately. Um, I was really looking forward to this game, and when upon finishing it, I was super blown away by it. And then I did the 100%. Like I did everything in the game. I went to do like, just complete all the things that you could possibly complete in the game. And I kind of settled it more into feeling like, okay, that game was good. It's not blowing my mind on the level that I feel like certainly reviews talked about it. And it's a bummer because it is a direct sequel to Mario Odyssey. But I think its biggest issue is that it tried too hard to be Mario Odyssey while also trying to be a distinctly its own thing. And I think those two ideas coexisting, there's a lot of friction there. Namely the fact that like Mario Odyssey, the biggest complaint that so many people have about Mario Odyssey is, oh well, it's so easy to get all the moons. And while I sympathize with that, I think people are wrong about that. But regardless, fine. That's your opinion. It's okay. But like, it's that game running, and like when you were presented with like the easier moons in the game, such as you see a glowy spot on the ground. Oh, I know, because based off of Mario's moveset, I know he has a ground pound. I know I could go run over to that glowy spot, ground pound it, and get a moon. That's great. That's incredible. Like that's to me that is what that game is about. It is about using the wide range of Mario's moveset to collect things. Donkey Kong does not have a wide moveset in that game. It's mostly just punching and digging. And that is satisfying in the beginning, but as the game went on, the novelty of it did kind of wear down to the point where I was like, I feel like you're just, punching through mush throughout that game. And it was like, it was not that interesting of a game mechanic for it to carry the whole way. Like there is some cool things they did with like specific materials. It has a great twist near the end of the game, but I also think everything that happens after that twist is kind of a slog to get through, including the final boss, which was super challenging, and I did not end up enjoying it as much. But it kind of was the first signs of me like realizing where I feel like this game is just not that perfect. And again, it's such a shame because I would have loved a 3D platformer from Nintendo. They mostly are very good, and I do think this is a very good game. Hell, it survived this long. But I just found it to be kind of frustrating after a while that the game completely lacked structure that I think most other 3D Mario games have, and I think tried to ape no pun intended, a style of 3D platformer that has been done before by Nintendo, instead of really trying to be its own thing. And they try to with like, they also have like a skill tree that's like the reason why you collect the bananas in the game. But like, that skill tree wasn't that interesting. It just, if anything, it was just locking quality of life improvements behind a skill tree and not actually having things that are actively interesting with it. Like, I don't know. So many frustrating things that I think in hindsight about that game. I'm super bummed out about how my feelings have kind of evolved. And so I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm cutting it. And that leaves Mario Kart World on the outside here. And I think I'm gonna keep it there. And it's another one where I'm like, I had a better time with this game than some other people seem to have had with it. I enjoyed the free roam. I enjoyed going around finding the P blocks that were in it. The vibing in this game is a lot of fun. The music's amazing. But this game has a fundamental flaw of it has a Grand Prix mode, which is the default mode of these games, that does not care for you to see the amazing tracks that they put in this game. They instead want you to put you on these like bland open world, roads that are not nearly as interesting. It works for Knockout Tour, but to have a Grand Prix where most of the time you are doing the tournaments, you are not in the course is insane to me. I cannot believe that that's the route that they went with this. Like, they could have kept the open worldness, but still have it be that you play the tracks normally. Not that you have to you drive to the track and then you're on that track for one lap. It's ridiculous. And to quite frankly, like, I understand that this didn't have to just be another Mario Kart game, and that it doesn't have to always stick to that formula. But what they decided to go for was actively not fun. And it's, again, just super frustrating, and it maybe speaks to kind of how I feel about the Switch 2's launch here, which is just not very strong. I'm happy I got one, but man, I'm bummed about the initial slate of games. I think the Kirby stuff legitimately is the only good stuff about it. Like, I know I cut Kirby Air Riders early, but in a weird way, I think it kind of belongs in the early portions of this a lot more than Mario Kart World, now that I'm talking out loud. I don't know. But, like, I don't know. Again, there's so much about Mario Kart World that I think is really, really good. The movement, like, the fact that it really is so much more of, like, a platformer than in the past is kind of cool. Like, the fact that you could, like, bounce off of walls and shit, like, that's really neat. But I just have enough frustration with it that I have to keep it at the bottom, and or not even keep it at the bottom, just get rid of it altogether. And ladies and gentlemen, we have our top 20. We're going to order it in a bit, but we're going to jump to the awards portion of things for a little while. Let's go ahead and go on to our next awards, which is the most underutilized feature by Kelsey. The nominees are Date Everything, Donkey Kong Bonanza, and Once Upon a Katamari. So Date Everything has this feature where you can realize the item that you are talking to. You can turn them into real-life humans. It's something that you get later on in the game. I did not play long enough to get there, so that's why it's underutilized. A bizarre feature, and I think one that I wonder about the ethical conversation that can be had about it. But, it's interesting. Donkey Kong Bonanza has this DK artist mode where you can go and carve rocks and create your own little art things with it. It's really neat. People have made some cool things with it. I just never touched it, which is a shame, because I feel like there's probably something that I could make with it, but I just ended up not really touching it. And then Once Upon a Katamari has a multiplayer mode called Katamari Ball, where you compete against other people online, and you compete to basically create the largest Katamari. And it's very chaotic, and I've dabbled with it, but I did not really play a lot of it. And kind of it's fine. It's just a mode in this game that I just didn't really care for as much, but yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I would say between the three, though, the one that I do think was the most underutilized, and the one that I'm like, oh man, I kind of wish I did more with it, was Donkey Kong Bonanza. So there you go. All right, it is time for Best Twist by Kelsey. The nominees are Bits and Bops, Despelote, and Rhythm Doctor. And I will say for the entirety of this segment, we are going to put up this spoiler shield. Because, good lord, there is so much that can be said about all three of these games. And I'll start with Bits and Bops, where there is a game that you start out with. And Bits and Bops, if you don't know, is another rhythm heaven game like that is pretty directly inspired by Rhythm Heaven. It has like the same goofiness where you are get presented with a mini game that presents a very silly scenario, and then you are playing. They teach you a rhythm that you have to keep throughout the mini game, and then you execute it through playing through the music. There is a mini game in here called Snake Down, where it starts you are a snake inside of a pot, and you have a human and his pet monkey that are giving you money to then pop out of the money is being tossed towards you, and you have to the rhythm of the music hit the money where it launches itself into the chest that's there. And it's a really it's clearly like, okay, this is gonna be fun. This is a cute premise for this. But then at the end of the tutorial, the human's like, well, thank you for putting all the money away. Not that you're gonna get a cut or anything. You're whatever. And then it's like a very like harsh cut to the end of that tutorial. But then the mini game actually starts, and the monkey, the human is sleeping. And the monkey arrives dressed in burglar gear, and then the monkey starts tossing the money towards you, and you as the snake needs to then launch the money into the chest. But it changes the scene completely in a way that I just thought was extremely charming, and I'm just like, they don't really do that. Like, you kind of know what the minigame is going to be going into it. To have a scene completely change for this, like from tutorial into the minigame, it's just very good, and I wanted to give it props for that. I also think Bits of Rhythm Heaven is like this as well, but Bits of Bobs also plays a lot with like how it evolves a minigame over time, and how you do have twists and turns with that as well. So Bits of Bobs is just very good for this category. Despelote. Near the whole game is you are growing up in El Salvador, and you are watching as your soccer team is in the World Cup, and it is this coming of age story where you are kicking around a soccer ball the most of the game, but you are kind of living amongst this. I'm sorry, not El Salvador, Ecuador. I'm so sorry. I knew the moment I said El Salvador, I was like, that's wrong. That's definitely wrong. It's Ecuador. You're growing up in Ecuador, and you're running around in this like sepia tone world, because it's meant to date back to that time period, back in 2002, weirdly. But you're kicking around a soccer ball, and you're listening in on conversations. You're trying to do things and achieve things with the soccer ball itself, but overall it's just kind of a walking sim where you were kind of just experiencing the world around you, around this excitement about the World Cup, while also dealing with turmoil in the government and turmoil with just with trying to live and exist in a ultimately very poor country. And it was, and like the joys that this game has of like soccer itself is so evident and just very incredible. Like I highly recommend playing this game. The end of this game includes a moment where all of a sudden you're kicking around a soccer ball. You're grown up now. You're kicking around a soccer ball with a couple of your friends, and all of a sudden the camera, you're in first person the whole time, but then the camera kind of like cuts to you being on the ground, but it's not you that's on the ground. Instead, you are now become the soccer ball, and the soccer ball is being kicked between the different people. And this just amazing sequence of the soccer ball being kicked up in the air and landing at a different part of Ecuador, or a different part, at least of the town in Ecuador. And it's like cutting into all these different people's lives, and just living in the moment, and just how much people have joy in just kicking a soccer ball around, because this sport means a lot to people as well. Like, it's so moving. It's such a moment, like in time, like it's such a great period piece, like that I just highly recommend people check out. I didn't end up falling in love with this game as much as like a lot of other people did, but hey, it's enough to get into my top 20 of the year. Where like the more I've dwelled on it, I'm like, man, what an awesome piece of media this is. Like, this is like, I really highly recommend it for people who enjoy like just putting yourself in the shoes of someone different, for a little while, like, and just like living through their lives for a moment, because it moved me in that way, and I think it's really impactful. So that I thought that was a great twist. Then we get to Rhythm Doctor, and Rhythm Doctor is also inspired by Rhythm Heaven, but very much its own thing, where your goal is to keep people's heart rates up by hitting a button. The game is only one button, and you have to hit it on every 7th beat, but they obviously evolve on that over time. But this video game, which I played for the first time upon its 1.0 release, which it released on December 6th, a Saturday. I played through this game upon its first 1.0 release, and I was not expecting the twists and turns that this game takes. Not from a story point of view, from a purely gameplay point of view. This game you play entirely on... this is a PC-only game. I don't think you play this on console. I think you might be able to. But there is a part of this game where you play these boss fights. And I was going into one of the boss fights. It was the second... I want to say it was the second one. And all of a sudden, like, the window I was playing the game in, like kind of minimized. It got smaller on my screen. I was just like, well, that's weird. That's probably like a bug. And I went to kind of like try to adjust it, and the game was like, no, like it did not allow me to. And so I was just like, okay. And I start playing the game, and the window on the screen starts dancing around my computer. It like starts moving around to the beat of the music, to the point where it's like flinging itself across the screen, like, or across both of my monitors, and it's just dancing around all over the place while in the middle of trying to play the rhythm game. And it's incredible. Like, it's so good, especially from just a presentation point of view. I'm like, this is amazing, because it's like, it's fucking with you, but at the same time, like, that game is so much about paying attention to the song and the music rather than the visuals, and it's leading into that by making the visuals impossible. You have to listen to the music and know when you have to hit the button. And I think that is just so good, and I've never seen a video game do that. I've never seen a video game activate and like become alive on my computer screen like that before. And I have to give it to Rhythm Doctor in that vein. But man, this is such a good award that like I could go on about all three of these games. But this one in particular, Rhythm Doctor is perfect for this. So there you go. End of spoilers. Most pleasing sound font by Go Cubs. Oh yeah, so I took 3 awards from last year's nomination pool. I brought them forward because I just wanted to spotlight a couple other games, and they didn't quite fit into the categories that I had. So I was just like, you know what? Let's go retro. Let's take a couple of the game awards from last year that we gave, and let's crown another winner for these. So most pleasing sound font from Go Cubs. They include Mr. Goofer's Minigame Arcade Party, Ruffy and the Riverside, Tori Saturn. We've went long on these. I don't want to take up too much more time, but I want to shout out, like, all 3 of these are delightful, like, just such pleasing noises throughout. Tori Saturn plays with the arcadey noises of jumping around in a 3D platformer from, like, the 90s. Ruffy and the Riverside, just a very pleasant sound design that like kind of reminds you of a Banjo-Kazooie in that sense. But I'm going to give it to Mr. Goofer's minigame Arcade Party. It is a delight from start to finish in terms of how it leans into making you feel like you're inside of an arcade. And I do want to do one thing that I'm gonna pause the music for here, and I just want to give this game flowers for what it goes for. Because I like I was not expecting the game to have like an amazing presentation, especially with how small the game is and like in terms of like the scope of what it was going for. But the game opens with literally this is it opens up to a like what's like the old TV called, like the old I don't know, like a CRT screen, so you have like the lines across the screen, and you have these like 4 cartoon gophers lined up, and they're in barbershop gear. Yeah. And so, and then you have like this like background sound that sounds like you're inside of an arcade as well. Like just like they did a thing. They definitely did a thing. Anyways, I just wanted people to experience that. Least but impressed from Walsh last year. The nominees are Asterism. The game will end in 205 clicks and unfair flips. I don't have to go along on this. It goes to this game will end in 205 clicks because it fucking says it on the name title. Most refreshing beverage from Anthony of last year. Brew and Bogey Episode 1, Get the Milk, Pastel Parade, and Power Wash Simulator 2. Power Wash Simulator 2 is kind of a joke. Like, you don't drink anything in this game, but you do have these water that you just are refreshing all these different landmarks and stuff. I just thought this fit for this category. Brew and Bogey is literally about getting the milk, but you don't actually ever drink the milk. So that leaves Pastel Parade, where literally there's like 5 games where you're just spraying water on people. Specifically like water bottles. Like you have these water bottles that you shake and then you spray on people. I don't know why. It just is. And I thought about that with this game where I'm just like, that was a weird that it happened as many times as it was. But yeah. I'm being informed that that the music may not have come through for the Mr. Goofer part. That's a bummer. I'm not gonna go back and redo it, but it just trust that it's good. The Barbershop Quartet is very, very good. But anyways, Pastel Parade wins this award. All right, next. Character I'd most willingly die for by Kelsey. Sorry, I'm just looking at. The music is coming through on my end. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what if anything specifically happened. Maybe it was just very quiet. There's a chance that it just was very quiet. I did not turn up the volume for the Mr. Goofer thing. So that's probably what happened. So it was just probably very quiet, and I apologize. Anyways, the nominees are Boro from Wonderstop, Crouton from South Midnight, and Dog from To a T. Boro is the owner of the tea shop in Wonderstop that you take refuge in, essentially, in order to recover from being burnt out from being a warrior. And Boro is just he's very talks in a very matter of fact way. He's very kind. He's very he just is very straightforward in terms of how he wants you to be like he wants you to take a moment to relax, spend some time at his tea shop and get better. And he deeply cares about you as a character, despite only knowing you for a brief amount of time. He keeps on rescuing you whenever you try to run out and try to, go back into the world and try to be the warrior again. But Boro's there. Boro's always there to take care of you, and he's just a delight throughout. Crouton's like your companion in South of Midnight, where you can summon him, and he goes into tight spaces where he like completes like a little platforming level, in order to help then Hazel further navigate into the game. He's just a delight. Look at him. He's scruggly. He's a weird little guy that gains sentience after Hazel discovers him again, after he was also washed away by the flood that came through. He's good. And then Dog from To a T, literally called Dog from To a T, is it's a dog. He's a cute dog that's your companion. The dog actually serves as the companion to the child in the game, and like it literally helps the child with everything. Brushing his teeth, using the bathroom, and the dog is like the ultimate like champion for the kid. But the dog also has a little adventure on his own during this game, which is really neat. And it's just a delight. He's a fuzzy little guy, and I like him. But the winner of this category goes to Boro from Wonderstop. I don't know. Boro, I just want to protect with my whole life. I don't know. I forgot to change the title for this, so the fact that it says most refreshing beverage for Boro is very funny. You can. I whipped this together in the last couple of days, so bear with me. All right, finally, Best Clouds by Kelsey. The nominees are Little Wings Delivery, Mario Kart World, and Sword of the Sea. I won't go long on this one. I talked about it already. Little Wings Deliveries has you are surrounded by clouds the whole game. It's that nice fluffy cloud with these crunchy graphics, and it is a delight to live in this game. Little Wings Deliveries wins this category. I did want to take a moment to recognize some of the awards that were not used, because I just couldn't come up with good nominees for them. The best Kelsey awards that didn't get used include games that would be featured headlining a festival weekend that would make people go, huh? Because they would be the vibe, but kind of weird to be featured together. It's very good. Games I would substitute for the egg roll with my combo platter. Games that take the edge off / games that put the edge back on. Game most likely to be on the big TV wheeled into the classroom the day our teacher showed up hungover the day after the district holiday party. And Anthony also had another good one that I wanted to use, but I just could not nail down 3 nominees that I felt confident with. But it's a game that would lead Gandhi down a different path if he were born today and had a bad experience playing it. Which, to be completely fair, would probably be the 3 games that I eliminated out the gate in this with my top 20 discussion. So, respect to this category. I like it a lot though, by how it's worded. But I wanted to take a moment because we're not done. We have one more award to give out. It's the final award. It's the big one. Finally, The last award is character I would most likely fall in love with as a young teen and dedicate my life to too young, ignoring the wishes of my family and friends, only to find myself a single married mother of two, trying to make ends meet, and suddenly they're not coming home on time night after night until I discover they are having an affair with the fish counter lady Cassandra from the local Publix, where I buy the baby's formula and she knows better, and I start making online content of my prized sourdough loaves to fund my way out of the marriage, to start a new life for my kids in the small town, and I decide I'm never going to fall in love again until I realize my neighbor is a grizzled war vet, another character who eventually grows a sweet spot for my kids and suddenly starts coming around more and more, offering to fix things in our rundown double wide because it's all I can afford. And one day I try to squeeze past to get the groceries away while they are fixing the kitchen faucet, and suddenly we're face to face and we kiss, and then I forget all about the character and how bad they treated me because I found true love after all this time. By Kelsey. And the winner of this category is Chef Kawasaki from Career Writers. And that concludes the awards. All right, let's move on back to all right. Let's finish this thing. Top 20 time. All right, I'll start by saying this. I think Power Wash Simulator 2 is a good number 20, and Despelette is good 19. I think that those two being the ones that were the hardest to get through to the top 20 for me, I'm okay with them being where they are. So then it's deciding what else I want to do. Here's what I'm going to rule out immediately. Deltarune, Bits and Bops, Blueprints, Consumi, and Roger. Or, well, actually, no. I'll do Water Stop, Repo, Once Upon a Katamari, and Rhythm Doctor. Maybe not as much Blueprints. I want to think about that further. But these are the 7 that we're going to really be honing in on near the top of this list. By the way, I do want to say the Chef Kawasaki being awarded that. Another character, which I would think is like the grizzled war vet. The first character I thought of was Alta from Wonder Stop. To be the grizzled war vet that comes in and saves the day. In that romantic comedy situation. But I just felt like it would hit harder if we have just just Kawasaki to end that award. Anyways, so then I think really what's going to be interesting is ordering everything after the 7. So I feel confident with the current placement. I'm actually gonna, you know what? Here's what we're doing real quick. I'm gonna pause the music. I want to really think this out because I'm very happy with this 20. I feel like very good about it because there's really like. I don't know, like I do love Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I do like those games a lot, but I have enough frustrations with them that they would be bad vibes for me to have them in the top 20, where I really don't have bad vibes with any of these games. I love all of these so dearly that like I wanted to hold them up. Okay, I'm gonna say I think I'm gonna put Baby Steps at 18 for the time being. Baby Steps is a I kind of talked about it already, like the initial premise, but it's a physics game where you have the left trigger controls your left foot and the right trigger controls your right foot, and you're trying to walk and climb up these steep hills and just terrain in general. It's a very difficult game. I had a very good time with it. I'm a sucker for these like physicsy games of this ilk. I did have some issues with how it presented itself at times, but I think there's so many great pieces of writing that people have done on this game since then that really made me come around on a lot of the things that I maybe initially didn't feel as good about. It's still a game that like prominently features Donkey Dick. But despite that, it's also a game about pushing pushing yourself to overcome difficult obstacles, but also being okay with taking help every once in a while, and realizing that it's okay to help to get that help. It doesn't always have to be that you're doing things on your own. Um, that you can always that you can always like confide in people despite like you wanting it's okay to do that and not like you're not going to be a failure if you confide in people. um like I think that is it's just a very good message overall. I think it doesn't always land with the game, but I still had a great time, and I think it deserves a spot on this list. um okay, from here I'm gonna say, hmm, I think Spilled probably will remain in this row. Spilled is a game where you're just driving around a little boat and cleaning up the ocean. Really, really delightful game made by someone that actually lives on a boat. Really cool. Had a great time with it. Um, like it's short, but I think it's really satisfying and very sweet. Just really, really good. Um, thinking. I'm gonna say, ooh. Ooh. I was trying to think, but I think I'm gonna put ooh down here. But I had trouble playing this game. This was just because Metroidvanias like break my brain and I'm not able to do it without a guide. But the dev actually has like a full video walkthrough guide on their YouTube channel, so shout out to them. Um, but this game just oozes charm, no pun intended on the ooh. um and it's just like you just play as this little worm that gets eaten up by a bird but is still intact, of course, but then you can though then explore the innards of the bird. It's not graphic by any stretch, it's just a normal platforming looking world. But you just navigate the whole map trying to get out of the bird. um and it's just it's so well done, like, the way it uses the mechanics of, like, the bombs and placing bombs in certain sections to make sure that opens up certain pathways and or boosts you upwards. Like, it's just done very, very well. Um, so I like it. It's lower than I thought it was going to be, but I think it's in the right spot, honestly. But I also can always change it, like, there's nothing's locked in. Um, I will go with, ooh, this is it is so it's so tough. Um, I think I'll do Poco next. I mentioned this already, but it's a point and click game. Um, you are this small clown that gets banned from the circus in the sky and falls back down to the ground, and you go around to get assistance from this like community of like, oh man, there's a freaking word for it. Hold on, give me a moment. Um, because I want to do it justice as much as I can anyway. Yeah, so Poco is a story of the world's smallest clown who is banished from the circus and finds himself in the mysterious undergrowth full of lost and broken things. Explore, meet strange creatures, solve puzzles, and help Poco return to the circus in this charming 2D/3D hybrid point and click adventure game. There is like a specific word for like the creatures that are in here, but it's fine. I don't. It doesn't matter. Homunculi. That's it. That's the word. Um, they're bizarre little creatures representing the five senses. And that's like the main creatures that you're helping while you're roaming around this underground thing with a really cool art style. Really fun writing, like just really well done. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I think this was made by students, which I think is really cool. Like, I don't know, like the idea that this is um like just made by like people that are just like their first try at this whole thing, and this is what they end up making. Um, like it's just so cool. Like I love humans being able to express themselves in this way and do it effortlessly. Um, it's just, man, I love it so much. Um, yeah, it says here, we're the Clown Soul, a group of college friends with a shared passion for whimsy and fun. Uh, yeah, so they're college students. This is a game made by college students, and it's fucking incredible. And also, it's free. Guys, this game is free. You should play Poco. If you like point and click adventure games, this is a free game you can get on Steam. And I don't think that you will regret it. It is a really, really great time. One of the best of the year easily. Um, all right, next up, I'm gonna put Skin Deep down. I like immersive sims, but I definitely took advantage of the engine that this game is built in to enable um uh God mode essentially, that I would not die when playing this game. Which I know is maybe the antithesis of what I'm supposed to do, but I just had way more fun coming up with creative ways to knock out the soldiers and finding out, just navigating my way through the levels. Um, if you don't know, Skin Deep is, like I said, an immersive sim where you're playing as Nina Pasadena, and you are trying to stop this evil being who wears a mask, and you do find out early on like who that evil person is, but I won't spoil it here. But you work with a team of cats, not just like, you know anthropomorphized cats. Like, we're talking like, no, actual cats, like on all four legs cats that can speak and do things, but they are cats. And your job is to go into these ships that have been captured by pirates, spaceships specifically, um and you are freeing these cats that have been locked up, that would normally be the ones running the ship. It's a very goofy game. I really highly recommend it if you like immersive sims and all. I had a great time with it. Just very ridiculous, but just peak. It's so good. Um, I will go. I think I'll keep Many Nights a Whisper here. I liked it a lot. I think it's just one of the most moving like pieces of like just one of a such an interesting concept for a game, to then on top of that have such a moving narrative, and like to really lead into like, I don't know, the human condition to believe in something, and to have like all these people come to like come to the altar to have their wishes be granted or not, and to hear what they wish. And of course, the moment that I already talked about, but I won't go into spoilers, it's such a, like, just such a moving piece, bizarre game in concept, but really, really like packs a punch. And I respect this dev team. Like, they make a lot of weird experimental stuff, and this is just one of their best. um oh man, it's gonna get harder and harder for me. I'll say I think Time Flies is where it should be as well. Time Flies is a checklist game. where you are a fly who only has a short period of time to live, and the goal of the game is to try to survive as long as possible to complete everything on your bucket list. There's 4 levels. It's short and sweet, and it's so many gags. Very, very bizarre, but like I love it dearly. I love how it wraps everything up. Like from start to finish, this is a delightful game. You know what? I'm gonna say, mm, I'm gonna drop Aaron Rodgers down to number 11, which is a surprise. I really thought that Aaron Rodgers I would have up higher. I think it's just the kind of game that it is that I as emotionally moved as I was with this game, I don't think I would hold it. I don't think I'll ever play this game again. Like I think that was a one-time thing. I enjoyed what I played of it. But it also like I think is doing things that have been kind of done before, but I think is such a it is, regardless of anything, it is such a great example of a game that the story is the gameplay is the story, or vice versa. Like it's not like you usually can split those two things up to some degree with some games, but like this is like there it's so intertwined. Like you do not understand, you're not going to understand the story enough unless you are actively playing the game. Um or vice versa, I guess. Like it's just these are so it's such an intertwined thing. I think it does just such a good job with that. And I highly recommend people check it out. From there, I think I'm happy with the three as they stand here. I'll start with Squeakross and say, if you like Picross, you should check out this game. This is the best. This is the greatest Picross game ever made. Um, it's basically Picross, but make it Animal Crossing. You get to decorate a house as you solve Picross levels and get new furniture through those Picross levels. It's awesome. I put so much time into it, and quite honestly, it is the best game that came out on the Switch this year. Um, so there's that. Unless some of these other ones did come out on Switch, then maybe them. But like, I think Once Upon a Mario, I think did. But I don't know. I think like this to me was the game that I played so much around the Switch 2 launch, not Mario Kart. So take that for what you will. Tall Trails is a 3D adventure game, but it's 3D platformer. Where you are, it reminds me so much of the short hikes or little gator games of the world, where you're exploring the small space and you are trying to climb up to the top of a mountain, and you are collecting clay. You are this golem type creature, um, that that is trying to find their purpose, and it just is it's as silly as it is, and it's a obviously you can see how goofy the face is. Like it is so well done. Like the movement in this game is amazing. Like the way that you can jump and leap through this game, you use a boot that you can put items into, and then those items have different properties that change how you platform around. It's just like it's really smart from like a platforming point of view. But it's also just a fun game to vibe in. You live in these worlds for a little while. It's not rich with character or story or anything like that, but like the story of just trying to find your purpose, and the whole game is just about like building up to that, is just it's cute. It's really, really well done. I love it so much. I'm happy to have it on my top 10. And then Blueprints, one of the best games of the year. I think deserved of many accolades that it has already gotten, so I won't go long on this. But a, a procedurally generated, well, not really procedurally generated, but like a you're navigating this mansion, you're trying to piece together the story, you're trying to reach room 46. Um, and the depth that this game has beyond just trying to find room 46 is crazy. They say that you once you reach room 46, that is only the beginning of the game. I don't agree with that. I think you could probably just finish the game if you're not having fun, or if you don't feel like exploring further. But there is just so much in this that it's hard to spoil, or it's hard to say anything without spoiling, rather. Um, I had such a journey with it, and I got to see enough of the game where once I hit the end, the things that happen in the end really hit hard. Um, just I've never played a game like it. It's really something special. I have my gripes with it. Um, I think the game is a little too random. Um, and therefore, like in terms of what rooms spawn and stuff, to the point where it can be really frustrating, where you just keep on like run after run after run, like you're just not doing anything for a while until you get what you're actively looking for. And it's in that sense, it's like for me trying to be as patient as possible, it's rather difficult. So yeah, Blueprints is still, though, like a masterpiece. I think it genuinely is just one of the most fascinating games I've ever experienced. All right, we've brought to the top 7 here. I'm going to drop bits and bops down here. I talked about it a bit already. It's a rhythm heaven, like it's very rhythm heaven, to the point that like it's just such a direct inspiration. It's crazy. Um, it's not as good as Rhythm Heaven, but being someone who loves that series so much, like this hits so good. It says such delightful mini games that play around with different mechanics. There's a couple of mini games that I have not seen being done in Rhythm Heaven before, and I think that's like that makes it stand out a little bit more. Um, they have great remix moments in this game where you have all the mini games come together, everything that you've learned. Um, it's all worthwhile. Had a blast with bits and bops. Um, I think number 7 is a good place for it. And now it gets really hard. Okay, I'm gonna do something I did not think I was going to do, but it's mainly because I want to give more flowers to other games on this list. I'm making Deltarune my number 6 of the year. And I think that when it's all said and done, that Deltarune would probably be my favorite game that came out this year. But because it's an unfinished product, I I think it just doesn't feel right to be like this, crown this as the best game of the year. I do think the aspects of that are in the game, though, are enough that would make me be like, oh my god, yes, it is. It is. With again, I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm gonna spoil anything for Deltarune. But what I will say is, I think in every way, shape, or form, this is a better game than Undertale. Just straight up, it is so much better in every single way. And I hope it sticks to landing. It may not, and therefore, it will not live up to it. But I think in every way, this is Toby Fox and his team's like just vastly improving over the original. The art is better, the music is better, the story is better, the characters are more interesting. Um, I'm engaged with this world so much more. I'm laughing my ass off. I am crying at moments. This is an adventure that is so much fun to be a part of. It's fun. I'm enjoying experiencing it in the way that I'm experiencing it, but I envy the people who are going to wait and get all of this in one go once all the chapters are out. I think you're going to have a wonderful experience. um, it's going to be something really, really special, I think, when it all comes together. And I'm holding out hope that it does that. I'm not confident that it will. Like, there's some ways that I could see it going where I'm not going to be as big a fan of it, but I'm hoping for the best. So yeah, I'm very excited for it. And that leaves 5. That leaves 5 games that I think are representative of the year that really mean a lot to me. Um, man, I'm gonna go Kasumi at 5. Without going deep on it, Kasumi is a management game with WarioWare mini games, but it is about growing up in high school and having certain standards that you feel like you need to meet. And it involves the main character having an eating disorder. It involves the main character going through a relationship. It is about trying to manage all of that while also trying to get into a prestigious college. You're trying to meet your mom's expectations. You're trying to, you know, you know, keep friends and keep your sanity, but you're also trying to just manage all this stuff at the same time. And it's just one game about how much high school fucking sucks. Um, and God, it hits so hard. As someone who does not like playing anything or experiencing anything that's based in high school, I don't like watching anything that involves high school or anything previous. I have a lot of trauma when I think about middle school or high school or anything like that. It's very hard for me to have those experiences again. And I feel like this game did such a good job of both recognizing the pain of that period, while also trivializing it, some of it as well, in a way that like we thinks that the whole world's gonna come crashing down if one or two things don't go well, and the reality is that is not the fucking case. But also recognizing that there are things that happen in middle school and in high school that it genuinely can leave an impact on you going into adulthood and how hard that could be. But man, the way that this game wraps up of how just like this is just what life is, and just you're just trying to navigate life and doing the best that you can, and we're all just weird creatures just trying to navigate this thing called life. And I just think that Katsumi is such a great representation of that. I think the only reason I'm putting it at 5 here is just that I do think that it has such a difficulty curve with the management stuff that I could see it being a turnoff for some people. But man, it's so good. It's like this is such a hard top 5. I love every single one of the games on this list, and I'm getting emotional talking about Katsumi, but it's so all of it is just such a delight. And I really recommend anyone play it. I know it's a tough subject matter that it really touches on, um, but it's good. Um, I think I'm gonna have Wander Stop be my number 4. I think another one that is the marketing of this game was really talking about like, this is a game about burnout. It's about you, Alta, being this warrior who was at the top of her game, and then all of a sudden she starts losing, and she starts having this going, almost driving herself mad, trying to get back to the top, and it just brings her down to her knees to the point where she can no longer lift her sword. You stumble upon you pass out in the forest while trying to find this person that you're trying to look for to get advice from, and you wake up at this tea shop with this guy Boro, who is there to tell you like, hey, why don't you relax for a little bit. Takes a little bit of time to brew some tea, relax, like just take a step away from things for a little bit. And despite Alta's persistence, she ends up settling down. And it is so hard to talk about burnout in this game, but the way that it is built to send that message is such a subversion of video games that I have never seen before, where like they have it set up where everything that you do in the game, you're not trying to reach this major goal. You're not trying to grow all of this tea and create this massive farm system. You're not trying to get all the collectibles in the game and keep them stored as like trophies or anything like that. You're not like they make it very clear from the jump, like this is not what this game is about. It is about taking it's about relaxing. It's about taking your time. It's about just sitting back and reading a book. It's about sitting back and listening to people tell their stories. It's about just letting the world go for a little bit and recognize that like it is okay to not be okay. It's okay to just relax for a little while and just allow yourself that space to get better. And this game slowly evolved also to me of not just being about burnout, but just also about identity. Who are you? Who do you want to be? And like, what do you want to strive to be moving forward? And it really spoke to me on just a level of like it's, do you want to push yourself to the edge and work your tail off and you just keep on falling short, or that you feel like you're like or you're just you're working yourself up and you're going, and let's say you succeed, but at what cost? Like, do you want to ruin yourself just to reach this ultimate goal that you have? And I just think that this game does a good job of being like that, like it's okay just to slow down for just a moment and drink some tea, sit on the bench, drink some tea. It's okay. um and you pack all of that in with Davy Warden's like ridiculous writing that he has and stuff like the Stanley Parable, and like it's just a recipe for success. A game that just is so meaningful to me, for him this year. Um, and then you come to the final three here, and I'm gonna start by saying Repo is my number three. But it is the game that I played the most this year, and I would say that it is the game that I think is the most representative of 2025 more than anything else. It is a game that I've been playing so much with friends that I just thoroughly enjoyed every Thursday, Friday, whatever it may be, that we'd come together and be derpy little robots, navigating a scary building, picking up items, but we'd be singing songs and making each other laugh. And we would just have such a great time. And I'm such a sucker for the co-op game that even though this is such not my type of game, I do not like horror games in general. I do not like cheap jump scares. Um, this game lets it wash it all away because it's at the same time almost like it's very kind in its presentation, especially with the people that you're in, and you're able to kind of find your role and what you want to do to help your team, and you do it to the best of your ability. Um, and I think that there are definitely issues with the game, that to the point that we had to mod it to mod it create like crazy, but I still love the platform that the devs have given us for this. Um, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It just means a lot to me. I will always have a soft spot for Repo, for years to come, as many more of these games are going to be made, and my friends will probably move on to those to some degree. But Repo will always be the one that I will look back on. That it's I'm gonna be thinking about it constantly. Kelsey said, "I'm so thrilled Reaper ranks so high." Me too. I didn't think it was initially, but I felt it. I felt it in my core that was the right thing to do. And last two here: Once Upon a Katamari and Rhythm Doctor. Man, there's so much that I want to say about both, and I think that just they both do amazing things for the most part. I mm, I think on the whole here, I'm happy with where it's ranked. I think I am happy with Rhythm Doctor being number 2 and Once Upon a Katamari being number 1. Rhythm Doctor I had a journey with this game where I was initially not a huge fan of it upon playing through it. Um, I liked the first 4 acts and had my mind blown by some of the things that they were doing, and then, um, as I got deeper into the game, it got way more challenging, and I found it to be a frustrating experience because it was hard for me to kinda wrap my mind around um the sound cues of what I needed to know in order to press the button, and I still think I have that issue a little bit, but I'm blaming myself more than maybe the game itself on on that front. But initially I was blaming the game. Um, it was it took another playthrough. The game does have accessibility settings where I can, go in and I can set it to a much easier difficulty where I'm able to navigate it. And through doing that, I was not just able to appreciate the actual, rhythm, hitting the button stuff as much. I was still able to I was able to appreciate that a lot more, but I was also able to enjoy what this is, and what it is that it's a musical. This is like this is if like Scrubs the musical was a video game. It is you have these two doctors that you are trying to help out with this miracle rhythmic heart treatment, and you are going to these different patients and who each have like kind of like a different heartbeat type situation that you have to then match, and then you just go on the journey with all of these characters and what they go through. And it's not like the deepest stuff in the world, but it's enough where like I was captivated by what they were going through throughout, and it genuinely had they literally have a parody of One Day More in this in this game, like from Les Mis. Like they basically do a One Day More in here, and it's like I'm like, oh my god, that's what that's literally what they're doing. Is they've created a Broadway musical, but through a rhythm game, and it's based in a hospital, and so it like it really cares about that's like it's so awesome. It's only the only reason that it's not higher is that like I do want to spend more time with it. I want to play some of the more harder levels. I think, but it is one of the most impressive things I've ever experienced. It's incredible, and I think that anyone who likes Rhythm Heaven should give it a shot. But especially anyone who just likes rhythm games generally should give it a shot. It really tests your patience of paying attention to the audio rather than video. And I think that that's what Rhythm Heaven has done very well, but this game really tests that in a way that's like special. So I highly recommend it. But Once Upon a Calamari is my game of the year. I playing it in October, late October, and the first weekend of November was, I think, the perfect time to do it because we've been going through a very difficult period uh with just my cat's not doing well, and so we've had it was been a very difficult period of trying to take care of her, and she's still going, but I Katamari has been in a much needed escape from that to a certain degree. um it's an escape from the world in a weird way. It's pure fun. It's just this being put into these worlds and these settings and rolling up all these different objects and all these different people while listening to the most amazing, it's like all J-pop, and but also like they have a bunch of J-pop and also like the San Francisco Boys Choir for some fucking reason for one of the songs. It's just like an amazing soundtrack. Um, Playing around with all these different scenarios, and it got me to go back and play some of the older Katamari games and made me even more appreciative of those games. And what I've realized is that a lot of what this game is a lot of it is a direct sequel to We Love Katamari, and a lot of the things that worked well with that game. But man, I just think that this is such a delight to this was the one that really like broke through for me of like, oh, this is what Katamari is. It is silly, nonsensical, colorful, worlds that you just enjoy spending time with, and rolling up everything with an extra little collectathon aspect of it where you are collecting crowns, which is new to this game. You collect crowns in each of these levels, and then that's kind of also serves as part of the progression of the game as well. I could not recommend Once Upon a Katamari more for both newcomers and people who are fans, longtime fans of the series. I am not saying it will be your favorite Katamari if you are a fan, but I just think it's a really good one of these. And it means a lot to me. I had such a blast playing through it, and it's been in my mind for 2 months, and it's been keeping me going more than anything else in terms of media, I guess. And so I love it. It's such a great time. Go ahead and look at it. Look at that top 20. It's complete. It's finished. I feel very good about it. I'm sure I will look back at it and rearrange some things. And like I said, like I think when it's all said and done, I could see Deltarune just surpassing everything else. But I don't know. Right now, this is where I'm at. This is the games. These are the games that mean the most to me. This is what has represented my 2025, and I hope that anything that I've said in the last 3.5 hours has made any sense whatsoever. Um, it's I love this medium, and I want to continue to just talk about it. I want to get better about talking about it. I want to get better about writing about it. I want to go back to writing about these games. Wander Stop. I actually earlier this year did pull out a notepad and wrote down some thoughts about Wander Stop, which is something that I did not think I had in me. And I did, and so I want to go back to that, and that I think that's I think it is going to be the best way to get back into doing something that I used to really love doing. Um, and I like I said, I want to just get better about talking about video games in general, or any piece of media for that matter. Um, so there's that. I hope you all enjoyed this uh weird adventure I've been on today. Um, I know I've crowned Once Upon a Katamari, but all of these games are so good. I think this has been a wonderful, like, say what you will about what it means to say it's a wonderful year of games, because I know it's for the industry, the wider industry, it's fucking shit, um but in terms of like what people are making, and like the ways in which they're making them, like I don't know, this is just hitting for me. um I realize I didn't really talk much about Power Wash Simulator 2. I don't have to. It's just more Power Wash Simulator. That game is satisfying as hell. And I talked a bit about this full update. But yeah, what an amazing just set of games here. Just I'm very excited. All right, I'm gonna end this off. Thank you all for tuning in. For those who enjoyed staying with me this whole time, I'm sorry for 3.5 hours of rambling. I gotta drink water and never do this again for another year. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.